What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto married Venelana? If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments. And also check the description to original creator of this beautiful creation. Naruto Uzumaki, hero of the leaf, sage of Mount Myoboku and host of all nine-tailed beasts, find himself traveling through the dark portal, barely clinging to last of his consciousness. Kagaya Otsutsuki, as a last act of revenge, opened a dark portal that sucked him in despite his best efforts. He could feel Kurama trying to preserve his body, but the portal was ripping it apart. He had never felt this much pain in all his life, even not when Madara extracted Kurama out of him. "Just hang in there, Naruto," Kurama yelled, sending his dense chakra in his coils trying to keep him alive. The presence of Sasuke was still on his radar due to him having other half of Sage's chakra, Rikudo Yin power, but it was getting weaker and weaker until he could no longer sense the last Uchiha at all. A ray of hope appeared in the form of white light on far end of the portal, but his body gave up, not being able to bear the pain as the darkness engulfed him. Biel territory. 1 month later. Biel clan, also referred to as the Great King, was the highest-ranking clan in the 72 Pillars, with just the House of Four Great Satans above it. It was founded by one of the first devils, Zekrom Biel, and was famous for having a bloodline dubbed as Power of Destruction. The power, as the name suggests, completely obliterates anyone caught in it. At the moment, deep within the forest, a young woman appearing to be in her late teens could be seen panting on the ground with sweat dripping from her face and clothes tattered slightly. Venelana Biel was a beautiful girl, looked to be in her late teens, with flaxen, brown hair that reached the middle of her back and curl outward at the ends, violet eyes, a perfect heart-shaped face and a very voluptuous figure. She was clad in black dress with red trimmings at the moment. "Damn it, why it's so hard to compress my power of destruction," the devil princess thought. She tilted her head to the side to find the same infuriating blonde boy she found a month ago, practicing his calligraphy. He rarely conversed with others outside of learning something. Even though he was not that open to others, she had to admit that he was quite handsome. The blonde stood at impressive 5.8 feet tall with lean yet muscular build, perfect blend between speed and strength. He had cut his spiky golden blonde hair short and wore a black headband, with a metal plate that has insignia that resembles a leaf, on his forehead. His deep cerulean blue eyes completely focused on the scroll he was moving his brush on. The 3 whisker-like marks on his cheeks plus the short canines gives him a feral look in her eyes. She had found him on death's doorsteps, lying in the puddle of his own blood inside the forest, and took him back home to give him treatment. Nonetheless, she and all the healers were amazed at how his wounds were regenerating, and in only 2 weeks he was up and running. She also found out that he did not know a thing about supernatural world. Another thing that startled her was the strange language he spoke. She had never heard a language he spoke before, but thankfully could understand him. It made her a little apprehensive at first, but so far he has not given her a reason to doubt him. He spends most of his day reading notes and books from the large scroll he has, or just learning devil language from one of her maids or butlers. What is it with him? She gave him a wary look. Sometimes she doubted if he was straight. Not even once she caught him looking at her, even subtly, nor at any other maid except when he was learning or helping them around. Yet the way he ignores her made her feel a little furious. She was not used to being ignored. Normally people would be happy to be just in her presence alone, but here he is, not even paying attention to her. Who does he think he is? She muttered under her breath before returning to her training. Naruto in the meanwhile was lost in his own thoughts. So far from what he had learned from Venelana and the various servants working in her manor, he was in a place called Underworld. A place where different supernatural beings live, but the most prominent among them were the devils and fallen angels. The devils were led by 4 Satans, while Azazel, a 12-winged fallen angel, was the governor of Grigori, the fallen angel territory in the underworld. Naruto in the meanwhile was lost in his own thoughts. He couldn't do anything chakra taxing for the time being. Kurama and other had told him that his chakra coils were strained, so he should avoid using too much chakra for now. So to pass the time, he decided to learn some fuinjutsu from the books and scrolls left to him by his parents. After Jiraiya died, Tsunade Ba-chan had given him his inheritance after Nagato wrecked the leaf. Seeing that they were on the verge of war, He decided to seal the scroll in a storage seal on his left arm and open it after war, but he never get that chance in his home world. Shaking these thoughts away, he get up and looked at his brown-haired savior. She was trying so hard to control her cool powers. "Your energy is tensed," he commented, sealing his calligraphy kit in a very large scroll. Venelana looked over her shoulder with a raised brow. Huh? She gave him a confused look. Did he just talk to her? "Excuse me, did you say something to me?" He gave her a blank look. It should be obvious as there was no one here beside them. "Yes, Venelana, I can sense your energy is tense. You need to calm down first and then manipulate it," he replied calmly. "A clear mind will help you in controlling your power better." Naruto sat down in a meditative position and closed his eyes, with Venelana doing the same. "Now just think about what makes you feel calm and take deep breaths," he told her before entering his mindscape. Mindscape. He appeared inside his mindscape and find all the tailed beasts circling around him. "What do you need, Gaki?" Son Goku asked lazily. "Do you guys by any chance knows about how to master different elements? I only trained my wind element a bit and don't know how to train my affinity for others." He jumped on top of Matabi's head and sat down. "Each one of us have the knowledge you need to train and master advanced chakra nature manipulation." Kurama creaked open one of his eyes while his tails moved lazily behind him. "You do?" The blonde looked at them from top of Matabi's head. "We spend more than a century sealed in different Jinchurikis," Gayuki stated. "We have seen and learned a thing or two from our time there." The others nodded their head. All of them had learned quite a lot from their time in the different Jinchurikis. "You should also learn to use our unique elements. Having a variety of skill under your belt will help." Kakuo spoke in her ever-calm voice. "Yeah, that's a good idea. You can start from my magnet release," Shukaku said before he begins to laugh like a maniac, causing others to take a step back from him. "Yes, I can see it clearly. We crushing these useless flesh of bags and bury them under sea of sand." "Shut up, you damn tanuki," Kurama yelled at the sand spirit. "We don't need a whole faction behind us for slaughtering their own. What's wrong with that, you dumb fox? We can easily crush them," Shukaku said loudly. "Together. Will you two shut up?" Isobu sent a glare towards the two. "I'm trying to sleep here." Matabi just shook her head at her siblings' antics. Later. Vanelena's manor. Naruto gave Venelana a nervous look as she glared at him. Both were sitting on a large table filled with food and the devil was glaring at him after observing his abysmal table manners. She wanted to thank him for helping her earlier, so it was the first time she was sharing a meal with the blonde boy. "Come on, Venelana, let me eat already," he whined, but she stayed firm. Being born into the noble house of Biao, she was raised with manners and etiquettes drilled into her mind. So she could not stand when someone ignores all their manners. "I will," she started in a low voice. "The moment you start using proper manners." Naruto mumbled something under his breath. "What was that?" She raised a brow. "I don't know how to use these things." He pointed towards the fork and knives. This caused some butlers and maids to snicker, making him look down at his feet in utter embarrassment. He had practically raised himself after the orphanage kicked him out, and except the third Hokage, no one took interest in him. Ichiraku's helped little, but they had their own shop to run. Venelana narrowed her eyes at the maids and butlers, shutting them up. He should have told her about this sooner. Getting up from her seat, she signaled the others to leave the room and took the seat next to Naruto. "It's no problem," she said softly, making him look at her. "Here, let me show you how to use these." She grabbed the fork and knife before showing him how to use both properly. "I like her," Kakuo said. "Shush, let me concentrate, guys," he said as he tried to use the tools correctly. Venelana, along with her childhood friend, Layla Phoenix, looked at the strange blonde gazing at the sky of the underworld with a solemn look on his face. They were sitting in the garden, enjoying tea while he was lying on the ground at some distance. "So he is the boy you find in the forest?" the blonde woman asked, giving a keen look to Naruto. "Well, I would admit he certainly looks like a phoenix. Are you sure he is not a devil or a half-breed?" Venelana shook her head. "I cannot sense any form of energy from him, but I had seen his regeneration." She spoke, tilting her head to stare at the oblivious blonde. "It means he must have some kind of energy inside him too." Layla nodded her head. "Regeneration is not possible if one doesn't possess any kind of energy. Your clan is going to call for you in some days. The old Mao faction is losing ground slowly," spoke Layla, taking a sip from her tea. I think in a year or two, this civil war will end. I don't think so. Rizavam Levon Lucifer and my grandfather have yet to join the battle, and you know how powerful they are. Now Venelana-chan, I'm sure your dear nephew and his friends can defeat them. The Phoenix said reassuringly. Searzex and his friends are strong, but I don't think they will be able to defeat both of them at the same time. She replied with a sigh. Not to forget that Zek-chan has yet to master his true form, unlike Zainbiel. Even Zekrom-sama is wary of him before he left. Layla nods her head. She knew that if both or even one super devil on the other side had decided to take active part in the civil war, then the results would be vastly different from what they were now. Zainbiel, widely known as Master of Destruction, was the third devil after the first Lucifer and his son Rizavam to go past the limits of an ultimate class devil and become a super devil in history. He held no equal in his mastery of power of destruction, but it was not this that made him feared. It was his ruthlessness and sharp mind that made him a dangerous person. Even Zekrom knew better than to anger his firstborn. So what are you going to do about him? Her friend pointed towards Naruto. You know that your clan don't like even low-class devils, and if they know about his regeneration, then, she trailed off. They will try to use him somehow to further strengthen the clan. Venelana frowned. It was possible. He was not aligned with any house as of yet, so no one can stop the Biel clan to do what they want with him. Moreover, he was in their territory at the moment. I don't know, the brown-haired devil said. Maybe I should keep his existence a secret for now. She pondered this option for a moment. Unknown to two devils, Naruto could hear their conversation due to his heightened senses. So I should leave Hun? He thought. It's the best option for now. Kurama said with a grunt. Just leave this place and we will continue your training out there. You can also learn more about this world that way. He explained. I never repaid my debt to her for saving my life and giving me a shelter. He appeared inside his mindscape and looked at the massive fox. I don't know, the Kyuubi said lazily. It's your problem, not mine. He yawned and closed his eyes. Now be gone, I want to catch some sleep. With that he throws him out of his own mind. Asshole, muttered Naruto. You can always come back and help her with something important. Seiken spoke softly. Once you master your powers, you will be safer, Naruto-kun. He smiled at the slug. Thanks Seiken, he said, closing his eyes. There, it's finished now. He looked at the beautiful bracelet he made for Venelana as a parting gift. It was shining silver in color with her name crafted around a glowing violet gem. When are you planning to leave? Chomei asked in a bored tone. All his siblings were asleep at the moment. Tonight, he replied, placing the bracelet in his pocket. Hopefully I'll get a clue from those books as to where I should head next. He had two clones reading books on the history of devils and underworld in the library, not that anyone knows about it. It's good, having some knowledge as to where we should go will help. He nodded his head and left to find Venelana. He found her on terrace, overlooking the gardens that surrounded her mansion. He stopped and could not help but admire her beauty. She was easily the most beautiful woman he has met so far in his life. Pervert, Chomei muttered teasingly. He blushed slightly and quickly cut the link between him and the tailed beasts. Hey there, he said awkwardly. Venelana looked over her shoulder and gave him a smile in return. Hello Naruto. What are you doing here? She asked. I just came to give you this. He reached into his pocket and took out the bracelet. There, he held the bracelet towards her. I made it myself as a gift for saving my life and giving me a shelter. She looked at the bracelet for a second before accepting it. She had to admit it was beautiful. The beautiful violet gem reminded me of your eyes, he commented offhandedly, making her blush slightly. She turned her head to the side to see him gazing at the sky and thanked Satan that he was not looking at her. She was not used to people complimenting her eyes. He is the first one who did this, and from the looks of it, didn't even realize how he just indirectly complimented her. Thank you Naruto, she said. It's beautiful. She smiled, wearing it on her left arm. He gave her a slight smile as both stood there in comfortable silence, not knowing what to talk about. You know, he started making her look at him. You never told me about your family. Do you have any siblings? What about your parents or even grandparents? She noticed some sparkle in his eyes when he mentioned about family. Well, you never asked before. She replied before a small smile appeared on her face. I do have two siblings, one brother and one sister. My elder sister married a devil from another noble family and has one child, Circex. He is strong, in fact only a few can match him in combat. She spoke with a little enthusiasm, after all she was the one to teach him how to control his power of destruction. While my brother is still single, so am I. You don't have a boyfriend? He asked curiously. Why? A teasing smile appeared on her face. You going to test your chances with me, Naruto-kun? She wanted to make him blush but it failed as he only gave her a confused look. Sigh. I never find anyone interesting besides there was a war going on back then between the three factions. He nodded his head. What about you? Don't you have a family or girlfriend? She questioned. He noticed that she avoided the subject about her parents but didn't point it out. I lost my parents the night I was born. He smiled sadly, remembering both his parents. At least he got a chance to fight alongside his father in the war and meet his mother while he was on the Turtle Island. Oh, I'm sorry. He just gave her a smile. Don't worry, I have come to terms with it a long time ago. He replied. As for your second question, I was not popular with girls back home. There was this one girl named Hinata that confessed her love to me but I never get a chance to discover my feelings about her. He hopes that she finds someone better than him. Someone that will love her unconditionally. She noticed his sad expression and chose to stay silent. Forget about me. Tell me something about yourself. I mean your likes, dislikes, hobbies, dreams, etc. There is not much but since you asked, I will indulge you. I like reading about the history of my kind. My favorite food is roasted meat or anything that has meat in it. Dislikes him. Some devils from other noble houses. Those who look down on me are my servants. Hobbies are training and collecting rare books and dreams. She stopped for a moment. Well, for now it's to see the end of current civil war. I hope the war soon ends. In my opinion, wars are pointless. He muttered. Images of all those shinobi who died in front of him began to flash through his mind. Speaking through experience? She asked. Yeah, he replied in a low voice, gazing at the sky. You never told me anything about you. I mean, what are you? Where do you live and how you ended up in the underworld? He contemplated about telling her the truth for a moment before replying. I was fighting in a war and got myself trapped in some portal as a last act of revenge from the opponent I was fighting. That portal leads me here. Venelana's eyes widened slightly. So you are? She trailed off, seeing him nodding his head. Yes, I'm not from this world, Venelana. It's not even linked to this world from what little information I gathered from here. He spoke, closing his eyes. Is there any way you can go back? She questioned. Not one that I know. I have no technique to travel between dimensions, and even if I had, I don't think it would be useful. He replied honestly with a small frown. As to what I am, I'm what you would call a shinobi. So you are a ninja. He nodded his head. Tell me, Venelana, do you know what true strength is? She raised a brow. True strength? Yeah, I mean, what is it you fight for? That's easy. She started. I fight for sake of winning and glory. I want to make my clan proud. That's a good reason, but it's not true strength. A friend long time ago told me that one can only achieve true strength when she is fighting for people they love and cherish. True strength lies in protecting the ones close to you. He gave her a small smile, turning around. Anyway, I'm going to my room. See you later. With that he walked back to his room. Good night, she muttered with a smile. Protecting the ones precious to you, huh? You are indeed an interesting man, Naruto Uzumaki. So where are we going? Kurama asked. Naruto was hopping from one tree to another at blinding speeds. The large scroll with his possessions strapped to his back. Sneaking past the guards at the manor was a child's play for him. We are going to that familiar forest. I don't think anyone will come here in the midst of civil war. We can train there, he replied. Later. What are you doing here in my domain, worm? Naruto's eyebrow twitched slightly. He looked at the huge western dragon with pale blue scales and huge wings. It really was annoying him with its needless insults. I told you I accidentally fell into that hole and it led me here. He replied with a huff. The dragon looked at him for a moment before it let out a roar and tried to smash him with its tail. It was only through years of training and fighting some of the most powerful ninjas in his world that he managed to avoid it. Hey, what the hell? I told you it was a mistake. The dragon in reply took a deep breath and let out a stream of fire from its mouth. Use my chakra, Naruto. Isobu said, not once sounding lazy. Thanks, Isobu. He took a deep breath before blowing huge amount of water from his mouth. The two attacks collided, filling the room with steam. "Why are you attacking me? Just point me in the right direction and I'll leave," yelled Naruto, jumping back to avoid being crushed under the huge claw. "I'm one of the 5 Dragon Kings, Tiamat the Chaos Karma Dragon." It introduced itself with a snarl. "You will pay for interrupting my rest." Its voice turned demonic at the end. "Kurama," Naruto shouted, waiting for the yellow flames like chakra covering him, but it never happened. "You are your own kid," Kurama replied, and he could feel him giving a sinister smile all the way from inside the seal. "Get ready, mortal." The dragon launched towards him. "Uh-oh," Naruto muttered. Tiamat, the Chaos Karma Dragon, looked at the strange boy with hidden curiosity in her eyes. It had been 6 months since he showed up here and subdued her with those weird chains of his. Those chains were strong, she had to admit that. She was not going easy on him after all. "You stupid lizard," her eye twitched as he called her that. She never revealed her human form to him, so it was quite understandable, but she would prefer if he called her Dragon-sama or something that fits someone of her stature. "What is it, worm? And it's Tiamat-sama to you," she said a bit arrogantly, causing Naruto to roll his eyes. "First stop calling me worm." He folded his arms over his chest. "Grr. Don't test my patience. No, state your business and be gone," she sneered, moving her head close to him. "I need your help." She raised an invisible brow. "With what exactly?" She was interested, to say the least. This mortal had done nothing but train his body, try to control those big chains, or just meditate with those annoying clones that he seemed to produce in hundreds. "I want you to have a spar with me once in a week. I want to see how much I have improved since coming here," he replied, staring into her eyes. The dragon looked at him intently, but he did not back down, an admirable trait that she begrudgingly liked in the blonde-haired boy. She would have devoured him or just sent him somewhere else, if she had not seen his fearlessness and dedication to work hard for his powers. Besides, she did like conversing with someone who can talk to her without any fear in him, even if most of it revolves around insulting each other. Most beings would shit their pants by being in her mere presence alone. "What is in it for me?" she questioned. She was greedy and feels no shame in it. "I cannot give you anything that you may like," he said, scratching the back of his head. "How about your soul?" She relished the look of horror he was giving her. What?" he stammered. "No thanks. You stupid lizard. There is no way I'm going to give you my soul," he shouted, pointing a finger at her. Tiamat sighed. "Well, it's worth a shot," she mumbled, making his eye twitch. "I accept your offer, but in return you owe me a favor that I can cash at any time." He scratched his chin, thinking about it before giving her his famous grin. "All right, I will return your favor as long as it's not something out of my power." "That's a promise, Databeo." "It's a deal then." She stood up and looked down towards him, ignoring his verbal tick. "Go on, summon that weird bubbly aura around you." She had seen him using that power the first time they met. "No, I'm not going to use that power. I will fight you in my base mode," he said, and goes into a stance. Kurama had explained that the stronger his base form is, the more stronger his other transformations will become. "Are you implying that I'm weak?" A light blue aura appeared around her as she tried to smash him with her tail. "You should have explained yourself first, Naruto-kun." Matabi giggled, enjoying the show. "It is not going to listen now," he replied as he shot condensed wind bullets from his mouth. "You need to further train your affinity for wind. It's not even going to pierce its hard scales," Kurama commented, and as he had estimated, his attack was useless against the blue dragon. "Should I use Sage mode? I don't think I can match her in my base mode," Naruto asked as he summoned a group of clones to buy him some time. "Absolutely not. Let a clone gather nature energy for you, but you will only use it as a last resort," Kurama replied firmly. "Think of it as training," he added. "All right." He once again summoned many clones. Some manifest chakra chains from their back while others had Rasengans in their hands. "Uzumaki charge," Naruto shouted as he jumped towards Tiamat with a Rasengan in hand. Later, "How are you fully healed?" Tiamat asked as she looked at him. "Admit that it was a draw and maybe I'll decide to tell you," he replied cheekily, making her huff. "You broke your own rule and used that weird thing that made your eyes look like those annoying frogs," she pointed out. "For your information, they looked like toads, not frogs." "HMMPH. What's the difference?" She scoffed, but he chose to ignore her and closed his eyes. "What was that anyway?" It not only increased your durability and physical aspects but give your techniques a huge boost as well. She asked with hidden interest. Sensing no negative emotions from her, he spoke. It's called Sage Mode. I gather natural energy around here, balance it with my own energies inside my body and made them more powerful. Her eyes widened for a split second before returning back to normal. So this boy is a sage at such a young age, truly impressive. She thought. Anyway, Tiamat, what do you think about my abilities so far? I mean where I should focus more. He opened his eyes to look at her. Your strength and speed are impressive, but you need to work on your elemental magic. The only thing in your arsenal that can actually harm me is that spiraling sphere of energy. She replied, well, I have more, but they will come at a later date and if truly necessary, he thought in his mind. Forget about it, he said loudly, gaining her attention. Why you live all alone here, away from rest of the world, hun? I just don't like the world outside. She admitted. There were times when my presence was needed by my underlings, but those days are long gone now. She muttered sadly. She felt someone touch her arm and looked down to see Naruto patting her arm comfortingly. You should come with me. I plan to travel and see all this world has to offer. He smiled. That way you won't be bored and we can still have so much fun together. I will think about it. She mumbled before smacking him away, earning a surprised yell from him. Besides, I enjoy having fun with hosts of that idiot Diedrich every now and then. A dark aura appeared around her as she said that. Who is this Diedrich and what do you mean by that? He asked, pulling himself out of a small crater. Grr. That ungrateful bastard is the one who borrowed my treasure and never returned it. She replied as the dark aura around her increased. So this Diedrich is sealed now? He asked, getting a nod from her. But why are you targeting his hosts? They are not the ones who took your treasure. Because it's fun. He sweat dropped at her reply. Whoever this Diedrich person is, his hosts have his sympathies. 1.5 years later. So you are leaving? Yes. Thank you for helping me with my training, but now I think it's time for me to leave this place and continue my journey. Naruto replied, smiling at her. Tiamat gave the boy a look over and had to say he has grown quite a lot in the past year. His body has gained more muscle mass but still retained its leaner build. His blonde hair now reached his shoulders with some bangs falling just over his right eye. The most noticeable change was his height. The shinobi now stood at the impressive height of 6.2 feet. You owe me a debt, remember that? She said before holding her hand in front of him. This is for you. She opened her hand to reveal a fine black kimono with crimson magatama markings around the collar and cuffs. On the back of it was a larger, crimson rinnegan marking with a pattern of 9 magatamas arranged in 3 rows of 3 beneath it. Naruto looked at the kimono with awe. It looked very expensive and made of some very fine material. You are going to just stare at it for the whole day? The annoying voice of Tiamat brought him out of his trance. I designed this after your transformation you once showed me. Thank you, Tiamat. He took the kimono from her hand as she let out a huff. Now be gone, brat. She replied and turned to take another nap. Wait, she looked over her shoulder and saw him reaching into the pouch attached to his back. Here, take this. She scoffed when he took out a strange kunai and held it towards her. I don't need your measly weapons to protect me, worm. She sent a jab at him. Naruto rolled his eyes, but she could see the sides of his mouth twitched upwards. This kunai is special. It acts as a beacon for me, so if you ever need my help or just want someone to talk to, throw this at the ground and I will be there in a flash. He explained. She accepted it and stored it in her own dimension. Why give me something like this? I told you I'm not your friend and yet you are giving me this? She questioned, making him scratch his head in confusion. What are you talking about? He asked. I don't understand. He looked at her for an answer. I thought you won't want to come back here now that your training is complete. She answered. No one came back after they get what they want in the past after all. He gave her a small smile. I told you that I consider you a friend now, even if you refuse to acknowledge me as one, and I never leave my friends alone. He said, making her look at him for some time as if thinking about something. You really want to be my friend? She asked, getting a nod from him. All right then, I think you have earned the right to see this. Before he could ask what she meant by that, her whole body was engulfed in a bright light. He raised his hands to cover his eyes. Once the light vanished, he lowered his arms and could not help his jaw from dropping to the ground. In front of him, where once stood a giant dragon, now stood a very beautiful pale blue-haired woman in place of it. She had straight long beautiful hair, deep blue eyes and a figure to match Venelana. All in all, she was very beautiful and was clad in a beautiful blue kimono that was a little loose near her chest, displaying just the right amount of her huge twins. "I told you, Naruto-kun, you are a pervert," Matabi said. She never let a chance to tease him go to waste. "I am not," he said with a blush that did not help his claim at all. "If not, then why are you staring at her?" Kakuo added, making blood rush to his face. He quickly cut off the link between them to save himself from further embarrassment. "Oh Naruto-kun, are you okay?" Tiamat smiled seeing his red face. "Why, you are a woman and you never told me that." He sputtered, pointing a finger at her accusingly. "Ha ha ha, I don't recall telling you that I'm a man, did I?" she said with a smirk. He takes a few deep breaths to cool down his mind. "Alright, but why hide it till now?" he asked. "Only those who I consider friends have the privilege to see my human form, outside of my kin." She spoke. "Still, most of the older devils and supernatural beings have seen this form as I was quite active in the past." He nodded his head in understanding. "Now I think you should leave." He heard her speak and felt her lips connected to his cheek for a split second. Blood once again rushed to his face as she just smiled teasingly at him. "What happens? Does Naruto-kun want another one? Stop teasing me, woman," he shouted before vanishing in a swirl of leaves. "Oh, he looks so cute when blushing," she thought. "I should have revealed this form earlier and see him squirm." She let out a chuckle. A week later. "Please let us go." "Thwack. Shut up, you stupid bitch," a man said as he grabbed her by her throat. "You, as well as all these women, are nothing but slaves now," he finished. "You all will be serving Bolg-sama in his bed pretty soon." Another one stepped forward as a lecherous smile appeared on his face. "But some of you will be serving us first." He stared at all of the women before grabbing one from her hair and took her behind a tree as she continues to scream. "Please don't," the woman muttered as tears rolled down her cheeks. The man smirked. "Shush, don't worry. You will soon start to enjoy this." He pulled his pants down and reached for her shirt. Whoosh! His body fell to the ground, lifeless with a kunai embedded deep into his skull. "Tch, a bastard like you have no right to live," Naruto muttered, appearing near the dead body. The girl was going to scream, but he quickly covered her mouth. "Don't worry, I'm here to help." He let go when she nodded her head slightly. "Hey, what's the matter, Kaizo?" a voice asked. Naruto used henge to transform into the dead man and walked out from behind the tree. The bitch fainted. "I'm going to grab another one," he said. The other man scowled. "Just hurry up. I too want to taste one of them." Now there is no need to be so angry about this. "You can go first if you want," Naruto said as he walked up to him. "Really? Thanks ma grrrll." His looked at him, Kaizo, with wide eyes, holding his own throat trying to stop the bleeding. Naruto was just too quick for him to see. He took out a kunai and slit his throat in a blink of an eye. "You bastard." The other men charged at him with rage. Thud, thud, thud. All of them fell to the ground, dead, with a kunai to the back of their heads. Naruto let the shadow clones surrounding the group dispel and drop his transformation. "You all are free now," he announced loudly. A smile appeared on his face as he saw the look of relief and happiness on their faces. Even back in the elemental nations, he hated bandits and rapists above all. In his eyes, they were the worst of the worst. "Who is this Bolg?" he questioned. One of them stepped up. "He is the first son of Lord Paimon. These forests and many of the towns around here fell under his control." She replied. "Can you tell me where he lives?" he asked coldly. "Outside Bolg's castle." "You really going after him?" Kurama asked. "Yes, people like him disgusts me," Naruto replied as he watched the patrolling guards closely from the shadows. After making a couple of shadow clones to escort all the captured women back to their homes safely, he proceeded to the Paimon castle to free this land from the plague known as Bolg for once and for all. He waited until the two guards turned to continue their patrolling before sneaking inside the castle. Using henge to transform into one of the guards, he strolls down the huge hallways of the castle. "Now how to find that dog," he muttered, turning around the corner only to bump into someone. He looked down to find a blonde-haired girl around his age clad in a rather revealing outfit. "I'm sorry. I was not looking where I was going." He offered her a hand which she accepted as he helped her to her feet. "No problem," the girl stuttered with a down look. Naruto, she is not a devil. I'm sensing some other energy inside her. Kurama told him. Yeah, I know, he replied and looked at her face as she strolled past him. I'm here as you have asked, Lord Bolg, the girl said with a bow after closing the door. Ah, so it's your turn today. A black-haired man in his early 20s stood up from his chair, discarding his shirt as he slowly advanced towards the girl. Don't worry, I will not be too hard with you, even if your dirty blood demands otherwise. I don't think so. The tall man stopped and narrowed his eyes as Naruto emerged from the girl's shadow. Who are you? Guards. The man yelled and waited for the guards, but no one came. Yell all you want, Naruto said, twirling the kunai in his hands. No one is going to hear you anyway. He had already sealed the room. Then I shall teach you a lesson myself. He stepped forward only to find himself bound by golden chains that burst out of the floor behind him. The girl noticed the chains coming out of Naruto's back and disappear into the ground. Now for your punishment. The kunai in his hand began to spark with electricity, as he channeled pure lightning chakra through it. A quick death is not an option after everything you have done. His voice was cold as he brought the man closer to him. Thug. Ah! Bolg screamed in pain as he stabbed him in the thigh. Shut up. Have you ever even think about all the pain you made the families of all those women you defile go through? He pulled the kunai out and stabbed him in the shoulder, this time as the devil gave a chilling scream once again. I'm sure they begged you to spare them, pleaded you not to sell them as slaves to other rich men, but did that stop you? He gave a hard kick to his nuts. I'm going to make you pay and avenge all those women and families you ruined for your evil desires. His right hand was now covered in blue flames as he grabbed his face harshly before smashing it on his knee. I will make you wish for a quick death, but you won't be getting it from me, Paimon. And with that, his true torture begins. The next day guards will find half of his body in ashes with his whole right arm separated from his body, lying in the corner and his face totally unrecognizable. 2 weeks later. Your race is not very hospitable to the outsiders, is it, Teresa? Naruto muttered, seeing how hostile some of the fallen angels were towards him. Yes, but you are an unknown man. It is only usual for them to react like that. The blonde-haired girl replied, moving closer to her savior. She was terrified of him after witnessing her fellow blonde torture the Paimon heir to death, but that fear vanished in the 2 weeks she traveled with him. He took it upon himself to escort her back to her home in Grigori after she revealed herself to be a fallen angel. She was caught by the devils in the human world after she left her home over an argument with her parents. True, he replied in a low voice. It was not late when the duo reached her house. He noticed the house was not too big, but it was not small either. He sensed her hesitation. She was captured for more than 3 months ago and left without even telling her parents. She felt a hand on her shoulder and turned to see Naruto give in her a supportive smile before he pushed her forward. Don't worry, I'm sure they will forgive you. He spoke, getting a small nod from her. Knock, knock, coming. The door opened as a middle-aged woman with green hair came out of it. Mother, I'm so. Teresa was unable to complete her sentence as the woman had engulfed her in a tight hug, crying into her shoulder. Teresa, where were you? Please don't leave us again. The girl wrapped her own arms around her with tears in her eyes. Naruto smiled at the duo before vanishing in a swirl of leaves. His presence was not needed there anymore. The blonde always had a soft spot for children and families. Having his parents taken from him after only a couple of hours he was born, he never got to know how a parent's love feel like for the first 17 years of his life, and even then it was for a short time, not to mention he met his father in the middle of a war. You should not come into an unknown territory, young man. A voice spoke from behind him. Naruto turned to see a black-haired man with blonde bangs and black goatee, leaning against a tree. I just came to reunite a girl with her family. Naruto said calmly. I can see that, but still you cause some unrest among our ranks. The man said with a smirk. I'm sorry, it was not my intention to cause any trouble here. He apologized with a short bow. Ah, forget about it. I'm Azazel, kid, the man said, taking out a bottle of sake from his coat. You want a drink? This is some top-level stuff, I'm telling you this. So this is the leader of fallen angels. He thought. No thanks. I will have to pass as I got somewhere to be, replied Naruto as he turned to leave. Are you sure? I was not lying when I said that this stuff is top-notch. The Governor-General of Grigori muttered in low voice. Anyways, you have my thanks for helping one of my own. He trailed off, not knowing his name. Uzumaki Naruto, and you're welcome. I only did what was right. The shinobi replied. You killed Bulb Paimon, heir to his house. They will not leave you alone if they find out about your involvement. The usual smile left his face as he stared at Naruto seriously. Naruto's eyes turned cold at the mention of the devil he had killed. If they are like him, then I will gladly take them on. His cold voice was not lost to Azazel. I don't like killing, but trash like him do not deserve to live. Both locked eyes, and after a moment the fallen angel broke the contact. Your secret is safe with me. I will not tell anyone about your involvement in this matter. Naruto gave a small nod to him before vanishing in a flash. You were supposed to detain him, a rough voice said from behind him. Chill up, Shemazai. He is no threat, I can tell you that. The silver white-haired man looked like he wants to protest, but Azazel raised his hand, stopping him. Shemazai, you know I'm a good judge of character. I have been monitoring him since the moment he stepped inside our territory. Trust me on this and leave the boy alone. A set of pure black wings came out of his back as he took to the skies, leaving his friend alone. Bael Castle. 1 month later. I'm sorry, Layla, but Lord Zekrom is not willing to help us here. A brown-haired man with violet eyes said with a sigh. He is not willing to lend us a force when we don't even know if Venelana is alive or not. Layla gritted her teeth. But I'm sure that she is alive. We should help her, Zack-sama. She said. I know, but no one can go against him. I want to help my sister as well, but my hands are tied. Zack Bael, half-brother of Venelana, replied. Lord Zekrom still wants his son Zane back. According to him, no one is better suited to lead the house of Bael than him. He will not take any step to displease him further. He explained in a solemn tone. Fine, then come with me, we two. She trailed off when he raised a hand. We two are not enough. My grandfather is a super devil. He far exceeds us in both power and skill. Zack stated firmly. As much as he wants to help his sister, he knows that Zane will butcher them. So we should just leave her alone? She yelled furiously. You were not there when that monster appeared on the field. He absolutely destroyed our troops and even injured Venelana gravely before capturing her. Zack remained silent. He knows how cruel his grandfather can be. He was not only a true master in using his fabled power of destruction, but was also completely ruthless and merciless in battle, a truly dangerous combo. We need to wait for Sirzax and others to return. We can request them to help us discreetly. He spoke, making her scowl. You are leaving her alone on that man's mercy? You know that Sirzax-san and other will not be back for another 2 or 3 weeks. Zack turned his back towards her. There is nothing we can do. Let's say that I agree with you and both of us attack that castle, what will happen then? He looked at her seriously. Zane Bael will destroy us. He killed my father just because he refused to obey his orders. Do you really think he will let us live? Layla looked down, already knowing the answer. Zane Bael was the true personification of evil, and like his friend, Rizavam Levon Lucifer, believes that the devils should be evil and ruthless. So far their faction was winning against the old Mao faction, but that all changed when he and Rizavam decided to join the battle. Both devils were snapped out of their thoughts when a guard entered the room and kneels in front of them. You better have a good reason for this. Zack glared at the man, who shuddered slightly. My apologies, Lord Zack. There is a blonde man outside the castle and he refuses to leave until he meets Venelana-sama. He informed the two. And that requires my attention because? Zack scowled at him. My lord, he knocked out my entire group when we moved to restrain him. Zack let out a growl. He did not have time to deal with pests. Let's go. I will teach him a lesson. Before Layla could stop him, he already left the room with the guard. You have to better than that, Bael-chan. Naruto said, grinning like a fox before he was impaled by a spear. Know your place, insect. Zack smirked, but it vanished as Naruto burst in a poof of smoke. Another clone, he growled. Tisk tisk. Bael-chan, let me see Venelana and I'll be on my way. Naruto appeared near a tree. I told you she's not feeling well. Who are you anyway? I have never seen you here before. Zack questioned, summoning a brown magic circle. I'm Uzumaki Naruto. You can say I'm her friend as to why you never saw me here. We both met close to her manor in the forest a couple of years ago. There was no need for him to lie here. He only came here to meet the first person he has met in this world. Zack stopped, but the magic circle was still present. You have to leave. I already told you that she is ill at the moment and isn't allowed to meet anyone. He hopes that the blonde will leave now peacefully. Naruto stared at him. He could feel the man's emotions easily. I will leave for now. Zack sighed in relief at that. But I'll be back in a week. Without another word, he turned and walked away. Return to your posts, Zack said as all the guards left. He is still in the underworld. We thought he left when he vanished from the manor without informing anyone. Layla spoke, walking towards the current head of Bael clan. You know him? Zack looked at her with a raised brow. She nodded her head. Yes, Venelana had saved him from bleeding to death 2 years ago, but he left after a month and we both thought he is gone from the underworld. She replied. I see, Zack said and turned to leave. I'll inform you once Searsex is back. She nodded her head, still feeling frustrated at not being able to help her friend. At night. Phoenix Castle. You should sleep now, Layla. I'm sure that Venelana-san will be back soon. Raven Phoenix, head of Phoenix clan, said as he left the room. You don't know anything about what I'm feeling, brother. The blonde woman said in a low voice. Knock, knock, who is it? She asked. It's me, Ruvel. Can I come in, Oba-chan? She smiled slightly hearing the voice of her only nephew and walked to the door to greet him. As soon as she opened the door, the little boy jumped into her arms with a grin. I told you that you don't have to ask for permission to meet me, Ruvel-chan. She said, rubbing his hair as he giggled softly. So how's my dear nephew? She asked, sitting in a chair and placing him back on the ground. I'm good, Oba-chan. Ruvel replied and opened the window. I came here so you can meet my new friend. He walked to the closed window and opened it. A second later, a white owl flew through the window and settled on his shoulder. Hello. Her eyes widened when the owl spoke and waved at her with one of his wings. Sorry, but I didn't have any other way to contact you, Layla-san, so I used young Ruvel here. Who are you? Her eyes narrowed as a small ball of fire forced him to leave his spot and she quickly pulled Ruvel behind her. Speak now or I will incinerate you. She threatened. Man, you could ask this pleasantly. It muttered, making the temperature in the room increase drastically. Whoa, okay lady, I'm not here to harm you. Let's talk pleasantly now. Answer my question first, she stated sternly. It sighed before a poof of smoke engulfed it. Both devils couldn't hide their surprise and shock when it clears to show Naruto standing there with a nervous smile on his face. You, Layla shouted in surprise. Sugoi, that was so cool, Ruvel said with stars in his eyes. Hee, yeah, I know that. Naruto gives him a thumbs up. Sorry, but I had no way to contact you. He apologized, his face fully serious now. What do you want to talk about? Zack-sama told you that Venelana is sick, she said, moving back to sit in her seat. You are lying, he told her bluntly. I can sense emotions, you know. So don't try to lie to me. It doesn't matter. She clenched her fists. We cannot help her. Don't sell me short, Layla. I'm a trained soldier and owe a debt to Venelana for saving my life. I'm not going to let her alone in whatever situation she is in right now, he said determinedly. Forget it. He frowned slightly. I told you that we cannot help her. We need to wait for Searsex-san first. You don't know when he will return, he pointed out. Just come with me and I promise that we will save her. Tell me, would you be able to ever forgive yourself if your hesitance cost you Venelana? He looked at her as she averted her gaze from him. But, Zack-sama and others told them. Forget about them. It's your life, Layla, and Venelana is your friend. It should be your decision, so don't let others dictate what you can or can't do. He cut her off. Many people wanted him to give up on bringing back Sasuke, but he never listened to them as he was his friend. So what's your answer? She looked up, nodded her head. Let's do this. Naruto grinned before both turned to see Ruvel sleeping soundly on the floor. What happened to him? Layla muttered. I put him to sleep. Naruto replied with a chuckle. You want anything before we go? No, I have everything that I think I'll need, she replied as a golden armor appeared on her body. Alright then, let's do this, the shinobi said with a grin. In a dimly lit room deep within the heavily armed castle of Dolguldur, a single man with black and crimson aura around him could be seen sitting in a large throne with his eyes closed. The powerful and famed bloodline of Bael clan, the power of destruction, flowing around him. If anyone from the Bael clan could see him now, they would be amazed at how easily he seemed to control their bloodline with little to no effort on his part. This man was none other than Zain Bael, first son and true heir to the house of Bael. Zain Bael was a tall man with pitch black hair that reached middle of his back, deep red eyes that seemed to glow with power and a thick mustache. His body packed some serious muscles, giving him a bulky appearance. The Bael was clad in black and silver armor with a long brown cloak with Bael clan crest on it. So, red eyes snapped open, a single finger pointed towards the three devils in front of him who shuddered. Sirzek's Gremory won another city. He is proving to be more and more of a nuisance with each passing day. Yes, Lord Bael. One of them stepped up and crouched down on one leg before him. We were unable to counter the attack from Sirzek's Gremory's battalion. It was like they knew exactly where our troops were stationed around the city. He said with his head held down. The other two nodded their heads in their captain's statement. I see, Zane muttered, once again closing his eyes. You have fought and performed remarkably in various battles until now, Kazuma. I think you deserve a reward for that. He smiled gently at the black-haired devil. Thank you for the praise, Lord Bael. To be acknowledged, he didn't even get to finish his sentence as a circular crimson barrier engulfed his form before it flashed red and erased him from existence. The other two devils looked at the super devil with fear in their eyes. Narrowed red orbs glared at the spot where stood the unfortunate devil, just a second ago, almost disdainfully. They didn't even sense him building up his energy for the attack. It all happened in just a blink of an eye for them. One moment their captain was kneeling before the ancient devil and the next he was vaporized out of existence. Now what to do with you two? His eyes turned towards the remaining devils and with a snap of his fingers, both found themselves in a similar crimson barrier. Please forgive us, Lord Bael. We will never disappoint you again. Both devils cried out as they begged him to spare their lives. The Bael scoffed. I hate weaklings like you. Now be gone. And just like that they were erased from existence as well. Lord Bael. The raven-haired man stared blankly at the gray-haired man and his only student kneeling before him. What is it, Clark? He questioned with a grunt as he masked his aura. Lucifage-san is here to see you. He spoke calmly. She brought a message from Lord Riven. He informed his teacher. I see. Bring her to me. The black-haired man stated before closing his eyes once again. What that brat wants now? Thought the super devil. He never liked the son of Rizavam Lucifer. The boy was too weak in his opinion to one day rule all the devils. He scoffed slightly on the mere thought of that brat ordering him around. Like that would ever happen. Maybe he should scare him a little when they meet the next time and show him his true place, which was beneath him. He was brought out of his musings when the large doors of the throne room opened once again and Clark entered inside with a silver-haired beauty following after him. Greetings, Lord Bael. Grafia greeted him with a bow. Greetings, Lucifage-san. You are here to deliver a message, correct? He asked, looking in her pools of silver. Yes, Lord Bael. Also Riven-sama will be here to meet Lady Venelana later today. I am to stay here until he arrives as per his orders. She replied in her Montoni voice, like usual. Zane nodded his head. As much as he disliked the brat, he could not deny that there were still some uses he got. One of them was being his pawn to gain more power and influence in the underworld. It was no secret that Riven had a huge crush on his granddaughter and desired her greatly. So he just used it in his favor and promised Venelana to him. Both of them were just tools for him to gain more power and influence in the underworld. I see. Anything else? He questioned. She nodded and reached into her robes before taking out a small scroll and presenting it to him. This scroll is from Lord Lucifer. He said that you would know what to do with it. She commented as he took the scroll from her hands. Indeed, he replied. Now if that's all you can leave. His eyes turned towards the only other man in the room. Clark, please take Lucifage-san to Venelana's room. The gray-haired man nodded his head as he gave him a bow and turned towards Grafia. Please follow me, Lucifage-san. He spoke before leading her out of the room, leaving the Bael to his thoughts once again. With Venelana, the flaxen-haired woman was not in a good mood as she vehemently tried to summon her power of destruction, only to fail, just like she had many times since she was brought here. She raised her arms and scowled at the sealing bands around her wrists. They were special type of bands, made from a special and rare stone that was repulsive to any type of magical energy and powered up by some rune magic to make sure the person wearing them could not call upon their magic. After trying again to overpower the bands for some time, her shoulders dropped in defeat as a soft sigh escaped her lips. She knew there were very low chances of higher-ups inside the new Mao faction sending anyone to rescue her. After all, no one would want to send their men to their obvious deaths. They would be butchered by her grandfather, Zayn Biel, that is if they somehow managed to get past the Devil of Lightning, Clark. She was just glad and relieved that Layla was safe. She wouldn't be able to forgive herself if she dragged her friend into this mess. Thankfully, Zayn had no interest in Layla, or she doubts he would have left her alive when he captured her. Lady Venelana. She turned her head to find Clark along with Grafia standing in the doorway. Lucif, what is she doing here, Clark? The Biel devil interrupted him, a cold look on her face. Clark sighed as his shoulders slumped in defeat. He could already feel a headache on its way. Venelana hates anything even remotely related to Riven, and the Silverette besides him hails from a family that serves under the Lucifer House. Seeing her react that way was not surprising, but he would have preferred if there was someone else playing the mediator between the two. He really didn't want to do that. Coughing slightly to catch her attention, he replied, "She is to stay here until Lord Riven arrives to meet you later today, and she also has Lord Zayn's permission." Venelana scowled. "I don't want anyone to babysit me. You can leave now, Lucifage-san," she ordered, but Grafia refused to move from her position. Clark sighed once again as he turned to leave. "I'm going now. I believe you two can sort things out here without any need of violence," he stated before leaving the room. "Are you really okay?" "Yes." Layla frowned slightly as she continued to follow her fellow blonde through the dense forest surrounding the castle. Naruto was unusually quiet, and his eyes were missing their usual warmth and mischievous glint inside them. He had not offered more than a few words since last night, and while she did not like his blabbering, she would have preferred it instead of this. She did not know what caused this sudden mood change, but she wanted to find out. In the past week she had come to learn a lot about him. He was kind, warm, playful, compassionate, and never refused to help anyone in need. Unfortunately, his hobby was not something she could say she liked much, especially when she was the target of it. She scowled slightly at the memory of her hair dyed pink. He loved pranking people and enjoys a good prank every now and then. She once again stared at his back, her golden eyes looking at him with a little bit of concern in them. There was something troubling him, but she could not say what, and he would not talk about it. It must be something serious if it was affecting him this much. Still, it was not her place to pry. She would help him if needed, as it's the least she could do to repay him for all his help. But that will come after they rescue her friend. So shaking these thoughts away, she continued to follow him, unaware that he was having an inner debate with the tailed beasts he came to call his friends. Naruto was standing in the middle of all the tailed beasts and was gazing at his first tenant, Kurama, with a serious look on his face. Everyone else was silent, even the slightly insane and bloodthirsty spirit of sand, Shukaku. The staring contest continued for some more time before Kurama sighed in defeat and spoke. "All right, brat. What do you want to know?" he asked, even though he already knows what was going on inside his friend's mind. "You know what I want to know, Kurama," Naruto replied calmly, looking at him for answers. Kurama sighed once again. He had hoped that Naruto would never ask about this, but it seems the cat was out of the bag. Locking his eyes with the teen, he replied, "Two things are needed to stop the infinite Tsukuyomi. One is Rinnegan and the second is the chakra of all 9-tailed beasts." Naruto's eyes widened at the last part. So even if Sasuke had the Rinnegan, he won't be able to dispel the powerful genjutsu. He needed him as he had the chakra of all 9 beasts inside him. It could still work if at least the tailed beasts were back home, but they jumped into the portal after him. Then that means, he trailed off, not having the courage to complete the sentence. Yes, Sasuke Uchiha cannot undo the illusion on his own, Kurama said with a grunt. Naruto looked down as his shoulders slumped in defeat. All this time he was thinking that his friends were free and enjoying the hard-won peace back home. But in reality they were still caught in the cursed genjutsu that Madara had casted. "Why?" he all but whispered, making everyone look at him. Even the ever-lazy Isobu opened his lone eye. "Why didn't anyone told me about this?" he shouted angrily. "And what could have you done?" Kurama snarled. "Nothing. You could not have done anything to change that. We don't have the ability to jump dimensions the last time I checked." The blonde looked ready to start a fight, but Kakuo interjected. "Calm down, you two. You are not little children," she admonished. "Secondly, we all agree with Kurama here. You would have thrown your life away if we told you that, Naruto-kun. She added softly, you should have told me sooner. I could try to devise a sealed tea. Matabi cut him off. We were planning to tell you this once we thought you were at least proficient in the fuinjutsu. And why is that? He asked curiously. As you know, fuinjutsu is very useful yet dangerous art. One little mistake could be fatal, and on top of that, space-time seals are even more dangerous to practice, let alone master. We would have informed you once you attained some mastery over the art, but that nightmare last night only sped things up. Gayuki responded this time. We were just worried that you may hurt yourself if you try to tamper with things you had no knowledge about, Naruto-kun. Seiken said in a somber tone, feeling bad that she had to hide this from him. Naruto's eyes softened as he patted one of her tails. I need some time to think about all this, he said, and vanished from his mindscape. When he left, Sun turned to face Kurama, who had his eyes closed and head resting on his arms. When are you going to tell him about the other thing? Son Goku asked curiously, but only got silence in return. Kurama frowned inwardly. As much as it pains him to say this world was far better for someone like Naruto now. If he ever find a way back home, he will be left all alone in the long run and only feel pain in the end. Do you need anything else for lunch, my lady? A maid asked after placing the food on the table. Venelana sighed before shaking her head. No, I think it will be enough, she replied. The maid nodded her head and gave her a bow. I will be back to collect the dishes shortly. Enjoy your lunch, she said, and turned to leave when Graphia struck her neck, instantly knocking her out. The two guards stationed at the door instantly moved to apprehend the silverette. What do you think you are doing? One of them yelled, drawing his sword, with the second following after him. Both raised their swords to strike but found themselves freeze in a block of ice. Venelana, who was watching all this, finally spoke. Explain your actions, Lucifage-san, she demanded calmly. Graphia turned towards her and replied, I don't have time to explain. Please come with me, she said, but Venelana shook her head. I am not going anywhere with you, she refused. Please trust me, Venelana-san. I am here to help you, Graphia stated, but had no effect on the Bile devil. Do you take me for a fool? The flaxen-haired woman asked before continuing. I will never trust anyone related to Lucifer, and certainly not his lapdog? She scoffed at the end, causing Graphia to sigh. I know, but please trust me. I only came here to help you escape the castle, she repeated once again. And what will you get out of it? Venelana asked curiously, still not believing her. Trust of the rebellion, she responded in a heartbeat, prompting Venelana to raise a brow. I can see another war will be the end of our race, and that is not something I want to see if I can help it. I have helped the rebellion once already, but I know it won't be enough, so I chose to help you and gain their trust, she responded in her ever monotonous voice. Venelana observed her face for a second, searching for any lies but found none. The Lucifage asked for her permission to examine the sealing bands on her wrist, which she gave after a moment as the silver-haired woman proceeded to take a closer look on them. After observing the bands for a couple of minutes, she spoke. The runes used in the array are very complex and could be lethal if we tampered with them. I propose that we left them alone for now and let someone with extensive knowledge in the art take a look at them once we escape from the castle. Venelana nodded her head in agreement. Runes and sealing magic was a very complex art in which a small mistake could end your life. Lucifage-san, what did you mean by you helped rebellion once already? She wanted to know this. Graphia opened her mouth to reply, but another voice beat her to it. Oh, by leaking the information related to Loyalists' forces formation and numbers in and out of the city of Dunedin to my precious great-grandson. Both set of eyes widened, recognizing the voice. Isn't that right, Graphia Lucifage? Asked one Zane Biel, standing in the doorway along with Clark. How did he find out about that? Were the thoughts running through the Silverette's head. She had made sure not to leave any clues behind. I can see you are grinding your brain to find just how in the world I came to know that. Zane stopped here and took out the scroll from earlier that she had given him. The scroll. She should have known. She should have checked the scroll herself, but she didn't, and that is proving to be a very costly mistake. Thinking quickly, she summoned spears made of ice and shot them at the duo. A blue barrier sprang to life and blocked the spears, but on impact a small explosion occurred, filling the room with dust and smoke. When it cleared, there was no sign of the two women. Clark was going to send some guards to search for them, but stopped when Zane began to laugh hysterically. Should I send guards after them, Lord Biel? he asked, waiting for his orders. Said devil smirked. Sending guards after them will only be a mistake. That woman is more than capable of dealing with such weaklings. His eyes moved towards his apprentice. You want me to capture them then? Only Venelana, Zane said as his eyes narrowed and glowed red for a second. Clark nodded his head, understanding his silent order, and left in a burst of speed. So where were you these past 2 years? If you don't mind me asking, Layla asked, trying to start a conversation with him. She would admit that she wasn't good at starting a normal conversation with the people she did not know, outside of business that is. Naruto gave her a sideway glance. She was going out of her way to talk to him since today's morning. Training, he responded calmly. Where? Familiar forest. With whom? Alone. Layla was going to ask more but he raised his hand, stopping her before turning to face her fully. Look, I know you are worried but don't be. You don't have to go out of your way to make me feel better. I just remembered something from my past and need some time to process my thoughts. He told her softly. Can I help in any way? She asked. I don't think so. His feet came to a halt, hearing an explosion near the wall of the castle. It's Venelana. Her signature is weak but she is there. Layla said loudly, having recognized one of the many signatures there. Let's get going. Please come with me, Venelana-sama. I don't want to use force against you. The gray-haired man stated while turning away from the silver-haired woman. Venelana eyed Grafia who was panting on the ground while clutching the deep stab wound on her stomach, trying vainly to stop any more blood loss than it already had. The woman was on her last legs as she had already lost a significant amount of her blood and sustained many other small injuries in her fight against Clark. It was not very hard to see that it was through sheer willpower that she had not passed out yet. She wanted to help her but with her magic out of her reach, she won't be able to even scratch their opponent. She didn't want anyone to die for her anymore. She had enough of that when Zane butchered her subordinates in front of her and she couldn't do anything but watch helplessly. Alright Clark, I will come with you. She spoke after a moment, prompting him to release a sigh of relief. But you will let her go after getting someone to heal her? She added, causing him to frown. I cannot do that. Lord Bael has ordered me to kill her for betraying the loyalists. I cannot defy him. Then forget about me coming back with you. Then I am afraid you leave me no other option but to use force against you. He vanished and appeared behind her in a burst of speed. He attempted to knock her out but she sensed him and blocked his hand. Before he could attempt again, a foot connected to the side of his face with enough force to send him flying into the forest. His uncontrolled flight destroyed many trees in its path before coming to a halt. Looks like we made it in time, Naruto said loudly, eyeing the gray-haired man. It didn't take Venelana long to recognize him. After all, not everyone got whisker-like marks on their cheeks, but before she could respond to his presence here, she found herself in a tight hug. Venelana, I'm glad you are not harmed, Layla said with a relieved smile. Naruto smiled at the two before he looked at the unconscious silver-haired woman lying on the ground. He also noticed the puddle of blood beneath her, but before he could do anything to help her out, he was forced to jump to the side to avoid being impaled by the spear of lightning. Layla Phoenix and whoever you are, you made a big mistake by venturing this far into Lord Bael's territory, Clark said as he walked out of the dust with a scowl on his face. Layla broke the hug and turned to look at him with narrowed eyes. She had nothing against him, if anything she held him in high regard because of the certain deeds he did. He was a good man with a sense of morality. She had no doubt he would have joined their side if not for his undying loyalty towards Zane Bael. We came here for Venelana and will not leave without her, she said, both staring into each other's eyes. I see, Clark said before releasing a little bit of his killing intent. Then you will be taken as a prisoner too, but first I should deal with that traitor. A gray magic circle appeared on his side before he started to shoot needles made of lightning towards Grafia, who was unable to defend herself. The needles on impact caused multiple explosions, filling the area with smoke and dust. When the area cleared, everyone found the silverette inside a golden barrier made by glowing golden chains with spikes. They also noticed Naruto kneeling beside her with his hands on her stomach. Only Layla, being an excellent sensor, could tell that he was healing her as Grafia's signature was becoming more and more stable. Clark frowned at the unknown blonde and shot a small beam of lightning at him, but it did not even cause a scratch on the barrier. Admitting that it was useless to attack him as long as the barrier stands, he turned his attention back to the two women. Attacking him is useless for now. So in the meantime, I shall take you down," he said before vanishing in a burst of speed. Layla quickly jumped back, also pulling Venelana with her from the back of her dress, just in time to avoid being electrocuted by Clark's attack. Golden wings made of hot flames burst from her back as two small balls appeared on either side of her body. Sensing her opponent for a brief second on her radar, she swiped her hand, sending a wave of flames at the location. Clark appeared on the spot and, seeing the attack coming towards him, jumped out of the way. However, two large fireballs sped towards him, forcing him to summon a spear of lightning and deflect them. As long as I keep him at distance, I would be fine, she thought. Venelana knew what her friend was trying to do. Layla specializes in mid-long range combat, where she uses her flames as both defensive and offensive. Whereas, Clark specializes in close-range combat due to his insane speed and lightning element. So it was only logical to try and keep him from coming too close. Still, she doubts that without her sensing abilities, Layla could fight him this effectively. It seems I have no other choice. I need to end this quickly, Clark thought in his mind before stopping at a safe distance from his opponent. Layla was going to chase after him when an oppressive aura filled the area. Clark clenched his teeth together as his skin turned slightly red and the white in his eyes changed completely into black. Two black vertical lines appeared under his eyes before he raised his hand and red lightning covered it, which he willed into a shape of large sword. Giving one quick glance to Layla, his form flickered out of existence, and the next second said devil find the air leaving her lungs before she was sent flying back to the ground, her body making a large crater on impact. She groaned as she tried to get herself out of the crater. That kick sure packed some power behind it. However, before she could pull herself out of the crater, a foot on her chest forced her back in it. Pathetic, Clark said, holding his sword just above her head, ready to end her life. However, his eyes widened as the chains from before burst from the ground and not only blocked his blade but also tried to attack him, which he avoided by flipping backwards. His eyes immediately turned towards the unknown blonde, who was now standing near Layla with Graphia in his arms. Blue eyes met gray, and the devil could swore that he saw his eyes flashed crimson for a second before returning back to normal. Layla-chan, take her and Venelana-chan out of here. I will stay back and provide you cover, Naruto said seriously, placing Graphia down. Layla would have reprimanded him for calling her name with such familiarity, but now was not the time for that. Getting up, he picked up Graphia and gave him a nod. Don't die, she said and moved towards Venelana, who spoke. We're not leaving. We can hell. Yes we are. Layla interrupted her. Your magic is sealed at the moment. Lucifage is out cold and I cannot sense him in time to provide any help. We will be nothing but a burden for Naruto-san if we stay here. He cannot fight and protect us at the same time, she finished. Naruto nodded his head. While he could protect and fight that devil at the same time, thanks to his shadow clones, he was not willing to risk it. Don't die, Naruto, Naruto-san, Venelana and Layla said at the same time, the later repeating her words, before glancing at each other and leaving the area. Naruto's sweat dropped at this. Really? That was the only thing they had to say? If you are done, shall we start, boy? Clark mocked, making his eye twitch at the boy part. Naruto settled into his stance. Why didn't you try to stop them? The blonde asked curiously. I can catch them easily after finishing with you, he responded before firing multiple bullet-shaped projectiles at him. Naruto dodged them easily, but that didn't worry Clark. They were meant to be distractions. The shinobi performed a backflip to avoid the hand that came out of the smoke and tried to grab his head. As soon as his feet landed on the ground, he ducked to avoid being cut in two by Clark's blade. The devil then attempted to kick him in the face, which he blocked, but Clark smirked. Byakurai. A beam of lightning shot off from the foot connected with Naruto's arm, blasting him away. The blonde winced before flipping in the air to land on a tree and used it to propel himself towards his opponent, who met him halfway. The wind chakra enhanced kunai held the devil's sword back. The two struggled for dominance for some time before pushing each other back before clashing once again in the middle. The two soon engaged in a fierce combat, becoming nothing but blurs to the untrained eye. Even though Naruto was faring well and managing to hold his own against him, it was clear that the gray-haired man held the upper hand in battle. He was fast and held more strength than the blonde in his strikes. He was pushing him on the back foot with each passing second. Finally Clark saw an opening in his stance and made full use of it by kicking him in the face, sending him flying into the air with one powerful condensed beam of lightning after him. The beam hit the blonde dead center in his chest and caused a large explosion in the sky. Clark looked at the large explosion with a blank look on his face and felt the wind produced by the shockwaves of his brush against his face. Just when he decided to take off and left the area to search for others, he heard a voice behind him, shocking him slightly. Wind style. Dissipating sharp wind. He didn't have to wait long before he was slammed into the nearby boulder by the powerful gust of wind. It was powerful enough to give him cuts on his back and rip his clothes in the process. He frowned seeing Naruto walk out from behind a tree, wiping the blood leaking from his mouth with a smirk on his face. "Did you really think that childish beam of yours would be enough to kill me?" Naruto was trying to mock the devil but only got a scoff in return. "You don't even know how to anger your opponents. You really are a brat," Clark said. Naruto ignored him however as his body became completely still. He would not underestimate him the second time. The beam from earlier could have injured him greatly if he hadn't substituted himself with a log on the last second. Clark was going to attack him but stopped seeing orange pigmentation around his eyes and his eyes turned from blue to yellow with toad-like irides. Senin Moto, Naruto thought in his mind. The thing that troubled Clark the most was that he seemed to have disappeared from his senses. Whereas he could sense his faint spiritual energy before, now it was like as if he was not even present there despite being standing right in front of him. He had never seen a technique like this before. He was forced to come out of his thoughts when the blonde leapt towards him, the ground cracking underneath his feet from the force behind the takeoff. "He's faster than before," he noted while moving his head back to avoid the punch aimed at his face. Crunch. His eyes widened in surprise as invisible force slammed into the side of his face with enough force to crack his cheekbones. He had never been punched this hard before. Naruto looked on with a satisfied smirk as Clark sailed through their small battlefield. "Time to end this," he thought, and in a burst of speed appeared under the man and kicked him into the air. Poof, poof, poof. 3 clones appeared and continued to kick him high and high into the air before finally the real one appeared above him and delivered a bone-crushing heel drop. Clark was sent rocketing towards the ground. "Tch." The devil growled as he pulled himself out of the crater and looked up to find his opponent flying towards him. "I am done playing with you," he yelled as his eyes glowed brilliant red. Gran Ray Sero. A red ball of condensed lightning formed near his palms with blue sparks before he fired it towards Naruto at blinding speed in the form of a destructive beam. Clark panted as he dropped his true form and fell to his knees. He had poured a big part of his demonic energy into the last attack, so it was difficult to maintain his true form. Wincing slightly from the pain in his back, he looked up to see the large cloud of smoke caused by his last attack. A small frown appeared on his face. He didn't want to use that much power in the attack, but he had deduced the blonde was simply on another level after undergoing that little change. He was sure giving him any more time could have spelled disastrous for him. "I have no time to waste," he muttered and tried to get up on his feet when he found himself unable to move. He looked down to find his feet covered in some sand, which shouldn't be there in the first place, and the black markings that were spreading on his body. What type of markings were these? No matter what were they? He had no time to ponder on this at the moment. Just when he was going to overpower this strange spell, he heard a voice behind him before he felt something grinding into his back. "Wind style. Rasengan," Naruto shouted, pushing the blue sphere of spiraling chakra with small wind blades into his back. "Ah!" Clark finally let out a painful scream. The pain was just unbearable. Applying some more force into his attack, he let it burst and send the gray-haired man flying. The shockwaves produced from the Rasengan were enough to level a big chunk of the field, destroying the trees and area ahead him. Clark's body hit the ground and he did not make any attempt to move. He could not feel anything in his back. It felt like it was numb. Feeling the blonde jump next to him, he opened his eyes to stare at him. His eyes were back to blue. "You know," Naruto started, "I can sense emotions and you never once intended to hurt either Venelana or Layla, nor you were giving me your all in our fight. I wonder why is that?" he questioned. Clark looked at him before releasing a painful chuckle. "Venelana-sama is one of the only people I could call a friend. Why would I try to harm her? As for your second question, you are not fighting me seriously too." He replied and saw Naruto giving him a nod. I see. Do you want me heal you? But you have to promise me that you'll not attack me again. Just leave, Clark said. I failed to hold my duty above my personal feelings. There is nothing wrong with what you did. You choose the well-being of your friend over other things. Naruto assured him. I failed Lord Biel. Even though I am sure that he will overlook this failure of mine, I simply cannot. Before Naruto could respond, he was bombarded with the highest amount of killing intent since his battle against Uchiha Madara. Ha 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 ha, you are right, Clark. I never thought you would betray me. Clark's eyes widened hearing the voice while Naruto tilted his head to find the tall black-haired man standing there. In a blink of an eye, the man summoned a crimson spear with black spars and shot it towards him. Naruto jumped away to avoid the spear when the man smirked. He motioned his hand towards the downed Clark and the blonde's eyes widened as the spear changed its trajectory at the last second, impaling the gray-haired man in the chest instead before exploding. The dust picked up and when it settled down, Naruto found Clark's body in a very bad state. He's still alive but he won't be for long. Kurama said. You are wrong, Clark. I don't like failure but can make some exceptions on it, but I never left those who betray me. Zane grinned madly at him. And you, my dear apprentice, did just that. Over something as puny as friendship. He finced seriously before seeing Naruto on guard. Don't worry, boy. He smirked. You don't have to fear me and take dear Venelana with you. I won't stop you. I don't like to hurt those who interest me before I figure them out, and I would be lying if I say you don't intrigue me. So you are safe for now. He finished and turned back to Clark. Several spears like before appeared around him, all aimed at the gray-haired man. We will meet again soon, and make no mistake, his eyes glowed crimson here. I will make sure you pay dearly for messing with me. He spoke in his demonic voice before vanishing just as the spears shot off towards Clark. The spears caused many small explosions, powerful enough to disintegrate the gray-haired man from existence had it not been the golden flame-like energy protecting him. That devil reeks of evil. He's dangerous, Kurama growled. Yeah, Naruto muttered before he looked down at his previous opponent. A chain wrapped itself around his body before both vanished in a flash of yellow. Olivia Gremory, formerly known as Olivia Biel, eldest of the Biel siblings and current matriarch of the Gremory house, was not pleased to say the least. She was pacing around in her room with a furious look on her face. No one dared to say or did anything in fear that her flames would turn on them. Even Zeoticus Gremory, current head of his house and Huban to the Biel devil, remained silent, content with watching her cursing the elders and higher-ups of New Mao faction. Well, he could not blame her there. If anything, he totally agrees with his wife and would be doing the same thing if their roles were reversed. It was not like he did not care about Venelana's well-being, but even he could not dare to go against someone like Zekrom Biel. Besides, even though the Biel clan chose to side with them, it was clear that it was all a ploy on their part to gain more power and hold more authority over the other clans. He was not blind, and as his status demands, quite adept in politics. If it wasn't their intention, then why had they refused to join the rebellion earlier and held many other clans back from joining their side but then proclaimed their full support out of nowhere? It was really simple, in fact. They waited and baited their time until the rebellion was desperate for help and then stepped in. It was only to remind others who was on top of the food chain in the underworld. Their support meant support of a whole army of many other clans and their useful resources. It gave their little rebellion a much-needed boost and almost finished the long civil war until the main players from the other side decided to join the fray. Now if he went out of his way to help his sister-in-law, there was a chance that the Biel, accurately Zekrom, may consider this as an action against them, and that would not end well for him, his clan, or in a off chance, the rebellion. Zeoticus. He was brought out of his thoughts by the voice of his wife. Isn't there anything we can do? She asked desperately. The redhead sighed and stood up from his chair. Taking a few steps towards her, he pulled her into a soft hug. Olivia finally let some tears fall from her eyes as she wrapped her own arms around his frame tightly. She wanted to help her sister, but the damn old fossils won't let her. Unlike her siblings, she was not a fighter, and while she learned how to use her power of destruction, she was not on the level of her siblings. It didn't mean she was weak. She was still a powerful high-class devil. Shush. It's going to be all right, dear. He gently rubbed her back. I know you want Venelana back, but we cannot go against the council. He said, and sensed her aura flared. Are you telling me to give up on her? She questioned with a clear edge in her voice. No dear, I won't ever suggest something as ridiculous as this. He quickly denied her assumption. All I'm saying is that we wait for Sirzek's return. I'm sure he will not sit idle when his aunt is in danger. Olivia knew he was right. Both Sirzek and Venelana share a deep bond, and it was Venelana who taught her son how to wield his power of destruction, which he inherited from her. The two were nearly inseparable during his childhood. I know, but he won't be back for some time. She mumbled sadly, and to make it more worse, no one was to inform his group about Venelana. As if knowing what she was thinking, the Gremory spoke. Don't worry. From what my informants told me, Layla-san also disappeared from the Phoenix Castle more than a week ago, and I have a hunch where she went. He told her, making her look up at him. It is not something that the council can hide from others for long. Disappearance of two ultimate-class devil princesses is not something so insignificant. The others will caught on soon and demand answers. They won't be able to hide this for long. He smirked. He might have failed to mention that he already had some of his people mix in and causing unrest among the general population. Looking down, he was mesmerized by his wife's beautiful face. No matter how many times he has seen it, he couldn't help but be surprised by her beauty. He sure is a lucky man. Now in the meantime, he whispered and started to close the distance between their faces. The woman too closed her eyes. He was this close to claim her lips when there was a knock on their door. He frowned. Whoever it was on the other side of the door could not have worse timing to disturb them than this. Olivia giggled at the face he makes. Yes? She replied, and the door opened to reveal Zindor, the man in charge of safety of their home and one of Zeoticus's old friend. What is it, Zindor? Zeoticus asked. He noticed the man looked hesitant for a second. Sorry to disturb you at this late at night, my lord, but I thought it would be best to inform you about this. Zindor said with a polite tone. Inform me what? I have received a letter from one of our scouting groups, and they have informed me that Lady Venelana and Lady Layla are on their way here with them. He stated. Are you sure? They are not hurt, are they? How long till they reach here? Olivia bombarded him with questions. No, my lady. They are in perfect health, albeit a little exhausted, and will reach there in a couple of hours or so. He answered. Excellent. Prepare my ride, I will go and receive them personally at the gates of the city. Zeoticus commanded. My lord. The redhead raised a brow at his hesitance. The man was not usually like this. There is something you should know. And that is? They have an unknown blonde man with them, and I don't see any problem with that. Let me finish first. The black-haired man scowled, causing Zeoticus to smirk. He had told him not to address him as such when they are alone, but he never listens. It's not the blonde man I am worried about, but they also have Clark Bretholt and Graphia Lucifage with them, and not as prisoners. He wanted to smirk at the shocked face of his friend and lord, but controlled himself. What? He exclaimed. Why would they have two top members of the Loyalists with them? Only the children of original Satans and Zane held more authority than them in the Loyalists faction. 1 hour later, Naruto strolled through the creepy-looking forest with Clark on his back, walking behind the scouting group and the devils in his group. The gray-haired man was still unconscious from the injuries he sustained from him and Zane. It would take some time for him to wake up, as even though he healed the major wounds, he was still injured pretty badly. He could sense that the scouting party was not comfortable with Clark's presence or even the other silver-haired woman. That was the reason he was still carrying the man. Uzumaki-sama. He tilted his head to find the silver-haired woman beside him. She woke up some time ago, but he still didn't know her name. Phoenix-san has told me that it was you who saved me and healed my injuries. I thank you for that, I'm in your debt. She said and ended with a slight bow. He shook his head. No need to thank me. I only did what was right, and please call me Naruto. Uzumaki-sama makes me feel like some old coot. He gave her his famous fox-like grin. Knowing he was asking for her name, she spoke. My name is Graphia Lucifage, Naruto-sama. She told him and was amused seeing him pout, though she hid it well. Don't call me that, he whined in a low voice. Anyway, what is the name of this creepy forest? He asked, deciding to change the topic. This forest is called Greenwood and falls under the jurisdiction of Gremory clan. It also acts as a border between Dolguldur and Gremory territory. She replied in her Montoni voice. I don't see why this is called Greenwood. All I see are some creepy looking trees. He commented. That is because we are yet to fully enter the forest. You will see that it is indeed a forest worthy of this name in some time. Okay, but why are we going to Gremory clan? I mean, wouldn't it be better if we go to Bael or Phoenix clan? He questioned. This get him a raised brow from her. You really are not from around here. Don't you know that current matriarch of the clan is Venelana-sama's sister? He shook his head at that, making her sigh. Oh, so that's why the scouts are following her orders. Yes, she said before he began to ask her question about the clans and history of devils. And so the civil war started. Do you have any more questions, Naruto-sama? Grafia ended her brief explanation and looked at him. Yes, she gestured towards him to ask away his question. Your hair, are they natural? Yes, she replied instantly. Okay, but what? He sensed that she was nervous and decided to divert her mind elsewhere. Venelana observed him as he continued to pester Grafia with questions. Said Devil calmly answered his questions to the best of her abilities. She raised a hand to her mouth and giggled slightly, making Layla turn to look at her with a raised brow. She could tell that the Silverette, despite being acting all calm and collected, was starting to lose it. There were cracks starting to appear in her mask and her emotionless facade was breaking. One look at the blue-eyed teen and she knew he was doing this on purpose. For what reason, she did not know. However, her eyes stopped when they caught his as she gazed into pools of blue. They were just like she had remembered them. Cerulean blue with such warmth and brightness that you could almost feel yourself bask in them. She would also admit that he grew up into a very handsome man. Now standing way taller than her with a lean yet muscular build with hard and compact muscles. Not only he was powerful, more powerful than many arrogant devils she had the displeasure of knowing, but also a very humble person. She licked her lips in a sensual manner, to think he placed himself in danger for her? Now that deserves a Venelana, quickly shaking her head to clear those thoughts from her mind, she turned to face Layla. It was nothing, she reminded herself. Are you alright? I've been trying to get your attention for some time now. The blonde phoenix complained. Sorry, I was just distracted. The flaxen-haired woman apologized. We are approaching the camp. From there we can use teleportation to reach the city, she said, getting a nod from him. An hour later. Blood. Shut up, you damn tanuki. Stop, Ward. Naruto winced and cut off the mental link between the tailed beasts and him for the time being. Shukaku was at it again. The spirit of sand could be called the most bloodthirsty among his brethren. Kurama along with Isobu were the most laziest, both preferred to spend most of their time taking a nap. Gaiyuki and Kakuo were the most level-headed ones in the group, while Matabi and Sun spent their time just running around and sometimes annoying Isobu and Kurama. Seiken liked to spend her time mostly alone but occasionally tells him one or two stories from her time in the shinobi world, which he liked as they were fun to hear. Chome liked to just fly around in his mindscape, muttering about luck and lucky 7. Shaking these thoughts away for now, he turned his attention back to the scene in front of him. They were currently at the small settlement the scouting group used as their base of operations inside the forest. It was located in the middle of the forest and apparently they had something there through which they could reach the Gremory castle in less time. Before he could observe the base some more, there was a flash of red causing him to shield his eyes. When it died down, he found Venelana along with Layla and Grafia standing inside a large red glowing circle and looking at him as if expecting something from him. Was he supposed to do something? He thought and rubbed the back of his head in utter confusion. Layla recognized the look and sighed. He really should have paid attention when she was telling him about the few basic spells the devils use. She gestured for him to come and stand beside them. What is it anyway, Layla-chan? This looks like the circle you devils use your spells through, he asked as he stepped inside the circle. Venelana smirked, seeing her scowl at her fellow blonde. It seems that Naruto still did not care enough for formalities. Layla shot him a glare before taking a deep breath and answered. It is a teleportation circle which we are using to teleport to the main base of the Gremory troops. You would have known had you paid attention to what I was saying back then, Naruto-san, she said with her scowl still present on her face. I paid attention to what you were saying. It just slips my mind for a second. He grinned, making her scowl even bigger, and proceeded to stand beside her. Venelana shook her head in amusement. He should not anger an already angered Layla. She tends to blow up something whenever that happens. Calm down, Layla. The spell is going to activate now. Just as she said this, the circle glows brilliantly before they vanished from the camp. They have arrived. Naruto blinked in surprise, finding himself surrounded by a lot of devil soldiers. They all had the crest of the Gremory clan on their uniforms just like those scouts in the forest, but the rest of their clothing was completely different from the scouts. For one, they all lacked the long black cloak to cover their body, and second, unlike the scouts, they were wearing proper armor. Venelana, I'm glad you have returned to us unharmed. A loud voice caught his attention. Tracing it back, he found a man in his early 20s with crimson hair and blue-green eyes walking towards them. Naruto noticed how the soldiers around them quickly kneeled in front of the man in show of respect and fear. So he is someone of high standing there, he thought. Zyuticus-sama, it's good to see you too. Venelana spoke with a short bow. Greetings, Lord Gremory. The Phoenix also gave him a bow along with Graphia. Ah, you don't need to be so formal with me. You are family after all, Venelana. You too, Layla-san, he said with a smile. Lord Gremory? So he is the brother-in-law of Venelana. Figured, he would come himself to welcome her. At least he didn't seem like those other stuck-up nobles so far. Ah, you must be the mysterious blonde that Zindor told me about. Welcome to the Gremory capital, City of Grimes. He spoke and stretched his hand towards the blonde. The blonde gave him a firm handshake and said, Naruto. Uzumaki Naruto. Zyuticus nodded his head. A pleasure to meet you, Uzumaki-san. Likewise, Gremory-san. If the man was trying to be a little formal, then he would return the favor, though by the looks of it, the black-haired man and soldiers were not pleased by the way he addressed the man. The redhead nodded his head and told the group to follow him. Sighing, he decided to follow the man. He had no doubt that the gray-haired man on his back would not be welcomed by the new Mao faction. He was one of the generals of the opposing side after all. Same would be the case with Graphia, but she was in contact with one of the generals here prior to her defection and even helped him somehow before. He wanted to leave and continue his travel and explore the underworld, but now he had decided to offer Clark a chance to accompany him if the things really went south for him. Not to forget that he now needs to step up his game and find a way back home. He just hopes that he found a way soon and his friends were alright. Ever since he was little, he always desired to become Hokage. It was his dream that always gave him drive to work hard and prove himself to his village. Yes, it was his dream, but there was another dream that for him was even bigger than taking the seat of Hokage, and that was to have a family of his own one day. The sight of children playing and being cared for by their parents always made him sad and to a little degree jealous. His heart always yearned for a parent's love. He wanted to know how it feels to be loved. To know how it feels when a mother held you in her arms, when you get scolded for something you did by your father, to have people who support you on your back, to get surprise presents on your birthday, to hear a bedtime story, to make his parents proud of him, to have a place he can always return to no matter what. He wanted to feel all these things and so much more, but never got a chance because of his furry friend in his gut. He would be lying if he said that he didn't hold some resentment towards his father for sealing Kurama in him and then left him all alone to experience a life full of loneliness and hatred. At the least he could make sure that he was being taken care of properly. Heck, someone should have adopted Naruto. Kurama interrupted his line of thoughts. Sorry, Kurama. He shook his head and gazed at the emotional scene in front of him. Venelana was currently being hugged by her sister. The black-haired woman did not waste any time, and as soon as they were inside the castle, caught her in a tight hug. The tears of relief flowing from her eyes made him smile. Venelana was really lucky to have a sister that loves her so much. He chuckled slightly seeing her being checked for any injuries. The elder sister was literally fawning over Venelana like a worried mother, and said woman was feeling embarrassed if the slight pink that dusted her cheeks was anything to go by. Still seeing all the care and love, he felt speck of jealousy crept inside of him, but he forced it down. You must be Uzumaki Naruto, Olivia stated. Venelana once told me about you. It's a pleasure to meet you in person. I'm Olivia Gremory, Venelana's elder sister. She said with a bow and polite smile. Glad to meet you too, Olivia-san. He was not surprised that Venelana told her about him. The two looked really close, so it was understandable that she would know about him. She nodded her head. I must thank you for helping my sister. If you need anything, feel free to ask. I just helped a friend. Besides, I also owe her a debt for helping me in the past. He replied with a smile. But a room for him to rest where I could heal his remaining injuries would be much appreciated. He gestured at the man on his back. Zeoticus along with Zindor looked a little uneasy at the prospect of having the gray-haired man restored to full health inside the castle, but Olivia just nodded her head in understanding. "Of course. You all must be tired," she said and gestured towards a maid in the corner. "Please follow her. She will show you your room for the night. Rest well, Uzumaki-san." Grafia was already gone with another maid, so it was only him and the ladies in the room. Clark didn't count as he was unconscious. "Good night, Naruto," Venelana said with a smile. "Good night, Venelana-chan." He was going to left the room when his eyes caught a mop of familiar blonde hair and decided to mess with the Phoenix Princess one last time. "You too, Layla-chan." Before said woman could reprimand him, he hurried out of the room behind the maid, grinning widely. "Oh, it seems I and Lord Phoenix don't need to worry about potential suitors coming after you two anymore," Olivia teased. Venelana averted her eyes away from her sister, especially since the lewd thoughts from earlier came back with a vengeance. "As if Olivia-sama," Layla scoffed. "A man like him needs to learn proper etiquettes and manners to make me even consider him as a potential suitor," she stated, crossing her arms over her chest. "So you would consider him if he learns them?" She smirked. "No problem, I can arrange that." "I never said that." The blonde too stormed out of the room, making Olivia chuckle heartedly. "It's so easy to tease her. She's still the same," Olivia commented before turning towards Venelana. "Come Venelana, I'll be staying beside you for the night." "Yes, Oni-sama." Next morning, that devil is awake. Naruto opened one of his eyes from his place to find a set of sharp gray eyes on him. The owner of the set was looking at him with a blank expression on his face, showing no emotion whatsoever. He was clearly not happy to find himself in this unknown place, and more so with him. "Where am I?" Clark questioned, though it seems either Zane let the group go willingly or they managed to get away from him somehow. You're awake, that's good." Naruto tried to lighten up the mood but sighed when his eyes hardened at his attempt. "We are in Gremory territory, Gremory Castle to be specific," he answered. The man nodded his head. "City of Grimes Hun, Olivia-sama's home," he muttered. It was no surprise at all. The Gremory were the closest ally they could find. "You know Olivia-san?" "I know almost all important members of Biel clan, and Olivia-sama was once the part of Biel clan. Heiress to be exact, but she left the title behind to marry the next Lord Gremory," he responded, surprising him. He was not expecting an answer really from the cold man. "You are rather talkative," he commented. "You are no longer my opponent," he said with a shrug. Before either could continue their talk, a knock at the door caught their attention. After a second the door opened and a maid entered inside the room to told that the blonde was requested to breakfast with the rest of the family. Naruto nodded his head and tell her to wait outside the room and he will be with her shortly. "What was that?" the shinobi asked the devil curiously. "Why was she so hesitant in your presence? She wasn't like that last night." "I'm quite famous," was the reply he got from him. "Besides, I was not conscious last night, so that might be the case." He sat up and frowned, seeing familiar bands on his wrists. "TCH. So they sealed my magic." Not that surprising, he was a general in the old Mao faction just a couple of days ago. "Yeah, sorry, but Zeoticus-san demanded this if I wanted to heal you." "It's understandable. I am still a potential threat," Clark said before falling back in his bed. "You should not made them wait. We will continue our conversation once you return." With that he closed his eyes. To be honest, Naruto never thought he would see so many redheads gathered in a single place in his life. As soon as he stepped inside the hall, he was greeted to the sight of more than 80 people near a very long table, looking at him. Many, in fact, most of them were redheads. He gulped. He was not used to be on the spotlight of so many people at once. Sure, he was used to pull pranks and get into every type of trouble to get attention of the Leaf villagers, but still it's a bit too much for him. "Hello." He waved at them with a nervous smile. Layla almost face-palmed herself at his greeting while Venelana's sweat dropped. Though quickly remembering what he once told her about his past and how he had no one while growing up, she stood up and waved back at him. "Morning, Naruto. I hope you had a good sleep," she greeted with a smile on her face. "Morning. Yeah, I slept well," he replied, a little relieved to find a familiar face. "Good to hear that. Come, your seat is beside me," she said. In truth, it was meant for some member of the Gremory clan that wasn't present. She only did it to help his nervous disposition. He would feel better if it was someone he knew sitting beside him. Naruto walked up to her and silently took the seat to her left. He also found Layla on the other side of the table facing him. He waved at her but she ignored it and chose to greet him properly instead. Everyone, Zeoticus started, catching the attention of everyone on the table. I want you to meet Uzumaki Naruto. He's the one who helped in rescuing Venelana. Treat him well. He finished, causing the heads turn to the blonde once again. We thank you for helping Olivia-sama's family, Uzumaki-san. A middle-aged man said in a firm voice. It's no big deal. He waved it off until Venelana elbowed him in the side. Not that the others could see, but you were welcome. He added quickly. Soon the others started questioning him and he answered what he could while not revealing too much about him. Olivia saw his nervousness and hesitation at being swarmed by her family and coughed loudly to get their attention. You can ask him questions later, after we finished breakfast. I'm sure Uzumaki-san is starving. As if on cue his stomach growled loudly in agreement with her. Stupid stomach. Naruto thought while flushing in embarrassment. He looks so cute like that. One of the ladies cooed, making him growl inwardly. He was not cute, damn it. He was a ninja, a strong one at that, and a dangerous mercenary, not some cute kid. Soon the breakfast started and he could not help but look at all the different dishes in front of him. He had not seen this type of food till now. Fortunately for him, the person sitting beside him saw this and came to help. Don't worry, just copy me, Venelana whispered lowly. Naruto nodded his head and began to eat what she was eating while copying her, albeit with a little difficulty. Lucifer Palace. You let them take Venelana. What were you thinking? Riven yelled furiously while glaring at Zane. Rizavam, who was sitting in his chair with Euclid standing behind him, did nothing to stop his son. He wanted to see where this will lead. Besides, now was the time to see if his son actually worth his salt. I want her back, no ACKKH. The grandson of Lucifer found a big hand around his throat and glowing red eyes staring in his own. Don't ever order me again, insect. Zane easily lifted him off the ground and applied some more pressure. Riven flared his aura and summoned a machete made from his demonic energy. He tried to stab the older devil, but Zane caught his weapon easily before crushing it with his bare hands. Crunch. Euclid flinched slightly as he heard the crunching sound of the unfortunate heir's throat being crushed. The silver-haired man struggled to break free for some time before going limp. Pathetic. Zane muttered, throwing the body away without a care. Rizavam laughed like a maniac seeing his son being beaten by the Baal. Zane was the only other devil that he respected. He shared his beliefs, unlike those brats who formed a rebellion against him. Actually, he had no interest in ruling the underworld at all. He just wanted to cause as much chaos and mayhem as he could and enjoy the show. The only reason he decided to join the battle was Zane. His friend wished to rule over the underworld and he would help him however he can. To have a whole army on his back while he caused chaos all over the world sounds appealing after all. As arrogant as he was, even he knew that he alone could not fight the other factions. Euclid-kun, please take my dear trash of a son and have him healed. He ordered his right-hand man. The Lucifage nodded his head and picked up Riven from the ground. As you wish, Lucifer-sama, he said and left the room quietly, leaving Zane and Rizavam alone in the room. Zane waited until the Lucifage left before speaking. You don't care for that brat, so why did you send him to be healed? You were taking quite a pleasure seeing him in that state, I can tell. Rizavam smirked. You know me too well, Baal-kun, he said in his ever-cheerful voice. The matter I want to discuss is about Graphia, and well, you know she is a sore subject for my dear servant. He fancied with a chuckle. Zane nodded his head. He knew about his unhealthy obsession with his sister, but unlike her, he was completely loyal to his master. What about her? He asked, taking a sip from his sake. I know you let her go for a reason and I won't judge you on it, but she was one of our top generals, just like Clark. If she spilled the beans about our secrets, it would be difficult to end this war quickly. He said, I know, but you don't have to worry. I have already assigned a team to oversee the changes I want in the units. Even if she spilled everything, it won't mean anything in the end. He responded. Excellent. The other devil exclaimed, but you didn't answer my question. He said, causing a predatory smile to appear on his face. Just know that I have found a brat more interesting to me than that Lucifage and Venelana. I will deal with that traitor when the time comes. Ho? So what you plan to do about this brat you speak of? Rizavam was certainly interested now. It was not every day that someone caught Zane's attention. For now, nothing. Zane answered with his smile still present. I plan to observe him for now, he said before summoning a magic circle underneath him. You know how I love to play this game. These last words he vanished from the room. So he plans to break that one. Future is turning out to be quite interesting, isn't it? He. Now he just needs to wait and see how his friend will do it. He laughed insanely once more. His friend seemed to have found a new hobby. He should also find something to occupy his mind. Gremory Castle. The breakfast was finally over and Naruto found himself in the company of the first person he came to know a little about in this world, Venelana. Both were taking a walk in the garden after she gave him a tour of the huge castle. He was thankful to her for getting him out of the crowd of very curious Gremories, especially those women who were trying to make him spill everything about his life. Both were walking side by side in silence, not knowing what to talk about. Ah, thank you for saving me from them, he said in an attempt to start a conversation. You are welcome, she gave him a smile. I could see you were not feeling well with them. What were they asking you about anyway? She asked. Sigh, they wanted to know more about me. What I am, where I came from and the stuff like that, you know. He replied. Well, that's to expected. At first I couldn't even sense your spiritual energy, but now I can sense a little, and it isn't demonic like us. So it's a dead giveaway that you are not a devil, she said with him agreeing with her. Still, they shouldn't have pried him for information that he did not wanted to share. She failed to sense his spiritual energy back then because he was still recovering, and now that he has recovered from the injuries she could sense it. His chakra coils were damaged by traveling through that unstable portal. In fact, he only managed to unlock his chakra chains in his small fight against Tiamat because he could not use his more chakra-taxing abilities. So it was a blessing that his bloodline awakened when it did. Still, he was sure that they won't be able to sense his chakra or attacks properly. Chakra was not common in this world, and even the chakra that those yokai possess was far weaker than the chakra his people use in the shinobi world. Tiamat had told him of that fact once. People here use magic energy to perform different tasks, which in reality was their spiritual energy, while chakra was mixture of one's physical and spiritual energy. The old man sage had not just given him his yang chikara, but also the knowledge about chakra and ninshu. Yeah, I know. Someone told me it's a good thing. The people here will surely underestimate me because of this. They can't sense my energy completely, he told her. And who is that someone? She asked with a raised brow. A friend, he replied slyly. Knowing he won't be disclosing the name of this friend of his, she decided to continue their conversation. So Layla told me about your training in the familiar forest. I must say it was quite clever of you to choose that location. No one would thought to visit that place in middle of a war. She admitted. Yeah, that was what I thought. Training there was enlightening experience for me, and while I'm still far from mastering my powers, I now got a decent grasp on them, he replied. His training was not easy at all. Dividing time between taijutsu, ninjutsu, fuinjutsu and shurikenjutsu was very difficult even with the help of his clones. Not to forget about the bijus and their respected elements. There were times when Tiamat had to carry him back to the cave after his training. When she wasn't present, Kurama would take control of his body and drag it back to the cave. I see, good to hear that, she said. Still, you left without telling anyone about it. If it was training that you needed, you could have done it in the manner. He gave her an apologetic smile. I am not a freeloader, you know. I didn't want to take advantage of your hospitality and good nature, he told her, and before she could refute he continued. Besides, had I stayed, then you would come at odds with your family. I heard how they are not very fond of low-class devils, and it was just a matter of time before information about me leaks out to them. I wanted to lay low, he finished. She couldn't deny it. Her clan was really dangerous and ruthless, not all of them but some of the key members. And what makes you believe that they will not act now? Why did you reveal yourself now? He gave her a soft smile. Your safety is more important to me than my need to stay hidden, he answered her truthfully. Venelana stopped. She did not know why, but his words made her really happy for some reason. I always protect my friends. Besides, he could always use Hiraishin to avoid the trouble. Ah, the wonders of being able to teleport on a whim. You consider me a friend? She asked in surprise. Yeah, you are my first friend here, he answered. I see, she said, and in a bold move take a step closer to him before standing on her tiptoes and giving him a peck on his left cheek. Thank you for helping me and considering me as your friend. She cursed herself for stuttering and hurried out of the place, leaving a shocked blonde behind. What just happened? He muttered, only to hear the Baiju roaring in laughter. He will not agree to this. You have to understand, we can sort all tea. Who do you think you are telling what I can or can't do, Zeoticus Gremory? A calm voice said with a dangerous edge to it. But honorable ancestor Graphia-san helped my sister and Clark-san has. Olivia stopped as the man raised his head. The council has already decided this, Olivia. Lucifage will be arrested and put into custody. Zekrom Biel, ancestor of the Biel clan, said with authority. And Clark Bretholt? Zeoticus asked, knowing his wife will not like the answer already. He will be interrogated, and after making sure that Bretholt clan survives, we will execute him for his crimes. He replied, not sounding the least interested in this. Layla clenched her fists. It was not fair. Graphia helped them, and now she was going to be treated as a prisoner of war while Clark will face execution. After refusing to help Venelana to somehow please his son, he was now trying to execute Clark, who just some time ago was the right-hand man of the same son he was trying to get back. Why was he doing that, and why he want to make sure that Bretholt clan survives unless that bastard wants to control the child Clark's sire, she thought bitterly. And while we are on the topic, I want to meet this Uzumaki Naruto that I have heard about. Everyone tensed at the mention of the blonde-haired shinobi. I should warn him and tell him to leave. Olivia thought and was formulating a plan when she heard a voice. There you are, Layla-chan. It seems the luck was on her side. You have something. Naruto stopped, seeing the unknown man sitting with them. Uzumaki Naruto, I presume. Yeah, that's me. Who are you? I am Zekrom Biel and I would like to speak with you. Naruto's eyes hardened slightly. He was sensing a lot of evil emotions from the man. I'm all ears, Zekrom Biel. He replied in a completely serious voice. Naruto stared at the black-haired man that was clad in a noble attire and had this strange aura of dignity around him. The peaceful violet eyes of his could have fooled him as well, if not for the negative emotion-sensing ability he got from Kurama. Zekrom could not hide his negative emotions from him, even if he tried. Emotions are not something one could hide. People can mask theirs, yes, but they cannot do anything against someone who could sense them. The polite smile on his face was betraying everything the blonde was sensing from the man. He could also tell the eyes of everyone inside the room were on him, waiting for his answer. No, I will not serve you, your clan, or any other devil, he said with a straight face. Then the council will not back down from Bretholt's verdict and you will no longer be allowed to roam around our territory, Zekrom stated bluntly. You can try, old man. The blue-eyed teen responded and got up to leave when the elder devil snapped. You have no say in how we devils treat our prisoners, boy. He raised his voice along with his killing intent, making Naruto narrow his eyes. Olivia grabbed the armrests of her chair, trying desperately not to succumb to the overwhelming pressure that Zekrom was releasing. Zeoticus and Layla were in the same boat as her, but coping far better than she was. Maybe it was because they had more experience in facing these type of situations out on the battlefield, she did not know. Still, the serious look on the blue-eyed teen's face, who did not even flinch at Zekrom's pressure and was staring directly into the elder Bale's eyes without any hint of fear, troubled her. It was evident that Zekrom's killing intent and the pressure wasn't affecting him at all. It made all of them wonder just how powerful the blonde truly is. You don't know who I am. Zekrom continued with narrowed eyes as the pressure increased. I'm not someone you would want as your enemy. He would get what he wants. The boy had no say in the matters related to devils. Naruto frowned. He had faced far worse killing intents than his. The man got nothing on Kurama, said Baiju's presence was enough to make the weak-willed people pass out from it. And you don't know me, Biel-san. He gave the infuriated devil a smirk. Plus, I think others would appreciate if you stop what you are doing. You are not going to succeed in intimidating me with it, he finished, infuriating and angering him even more. Frowning slightly, the first great king of the underworld masked his aura and ki, causing Olivia to sigh in relief. The Phoenix gave a worried glance to her fellow blonde, who in return gave her a small smile. You are not welcome here anymore and we will carry out Bretholt's punishment. Zeoticus wanted to protest as it was his territory Naruto was in but held himself back. He was grateful to the blonde boy, but his alliance with the Biel takes priority over him. The man sitting beside him could cripple his clan if he went against him now. It will not happen overnight, but they are devils and could live for thousands of years. So, in the end, he gave the Uzumaki an apologetic look. Naruto nodded in understanding before turning to leave. I will take Clark back with me. He's not your prisoner as you were not the one who brought him here in the first place. Thanks for your hospitality, Gremory-san and Olivia-san. He gave both a short bow and began to walk away. Arrogant boy. Zekrom summoned a medium-sized ball of destruction and fired it at his back. It was then when everyone's eyes widened as red energy burst forth from the blonde in waves and dark and malevolent feeling washed over their being. Bubbly red energy quickly covered his form and a single tail made of the same energy easily deflected the incoming attack, which blows a hole in the wall. The bloodlust oozing from the whiskered teen was tremendous and the killing intent enough to make everyone take a step back from him. It was like he has turned completely a different person. His warmth and protective aura that he always exuded replaced completely by this malevolent and dark aura. He looked over his shoulder and everyone was shocked to see glowing crimson orbs with slits instead of normal blue gazing at them. I have had enough of your bullshit, Biel, Naruto said, his voice turning deep due to Kurama's influence. Leave me alone or else I'll make you regret messing with me. He said with the tail flicking back and forth behind him. Naruto-san. Crimson orbs turned towards the only phoenix in the room and frowned seeing the look of fear on her face. He did not want to do that. The last thing he wants was to make others fear him for the power he possesses, again. Remember my warning, he muttered and vanished into the thin air. Every person in the room took a sigh of relief when the pressure vanished. Layla and others took deep breaths to calm down their racing hearts. They had never faced something like this before. The energy he released was so dark. Zekrom's condition was worse as he was the one facing the full might of Naruto's and Kurama's killing intent. The cup of tea in his hands was lying on the floor in pieces and his legs were shaking slightly. What was that? The ancient devil thought with some fear in his eyes. The mighty beast that appeared behind the Uzumaki, snarling at him. He felt so insignificant in front of it. The last time he felt like that was back in the Great War when both heavenly dragons interrupted the war. Where did it come from? Was it some kind of trick that the Uzumaki boy played on him? Though he was pretty shaken, his fear was soon overshadowed by his anger at being humiliated. How dare he made him look weak. He will show the boy why no one should cross him. Such disrespect, he whispered. Let's see how he will react when every other faction starts to hunt him down for his power. Zekrom-sama, he helped Venelana. The other Biel tried to reason with him. To pay some debt he owed her, he shot back, I will not forgive such disrespect. I will have him begging at my feet for this. He stated and turned towards Zeoticus. Bring Brethold and Lucifage here with their magic sealed. Brethold-san already has his magic and powers sealed. I will have my guards bring them both here shortly. Zeoticus replied before summoning 2 guards and ordered them to bring the 2 here. With Naruto, what are you doing? Clark asked as he watched the blonde sealing his things in the large scroll in a hurry. He had no idea how he was doing that. It was not really surprising as supernatural creatures have their own pocket space where they could keep different things and summon them when required. Still, it was not something like this. We are leaving, Naruto answered as he sealed the last article of his father's on Jikukan ninjutsu. We? Yes, unless you want to be used as a sperm factory and then executed so that any child you sire can be used as a weapon for Biel clan. The shinobi replied, disgusted by such an absurd idea. Children should always be seen as a symbol of love and bond between 2 people and treated as such, not some mere weapon or tool. I expected that much. The gray-haired man muttered, getting up on his feet. You are not surprised? Naruto asked incredulously. We devils are creatures of greed and desire, Uzumaki. Some of our greed for power, some money, some women and so on. There are good people in our society but in the end, they too are greedy and want one thing or another at any cost. The only difference is how they go about to achieve it, he replied, fixing his oversized clothes. Alright. Naruto started strapping the large scroll on his back. I would love to learn more about you devils once we get out of here. He finished sarcastically and placed a hand on his shoulder just as the single door swung open. Zindor with guards behind him gave both of them a stern look as he stepped inside. By orders of Lord Gremory, you are to come with us, Clark Berthold. He said calmly, you cannot escape as we have already sealed this place so that no one can use teleportation circle. He added with a smirk. Is that so? Naruto asked with a big grin, getting a nod from the man. Then we'll see you some other time, bye bye. He yelled, and before their eyes vanished in a flash of yellow. What? With Venelana. The flaxen-haired woman was sitting in her room with a book in her lap, looking at the pages with a deep look on her face. To the others, it would look like as if she was too immersed in the contents of the book, but in reality, she was not even reading it. Her mind was elsewhere, particularly on a certain blue-eyed blonde boy. She still didn't know what compelled her to kiss him back in the garden. She blushed slightly as it was the first time she kissed anyone of the opposite gender. Her nephew and brother did not count. At least, the look of shock on his face was worth it. Venelana, here you are. The voice made her jump slightly at being caught off guard, resulting in showering the book in the tea she was drinking. She quickly took the napkin on the table and tried to clean the book, even though the damage was already done. You better have a good. She turned around to give the one responsible for this a piece of her mind, but stopped seeing who it was. Zack. She jumped and hugged her brother, who welcomed the gesture and hugged her back, the book now forgotten in the corner. I'm glad you are back among us, dear sister, he said after pulling back from the hug. You have some good friends. That I do, she responded with a smile. Zack frowned slightly. I would like to just sit around and talk with you, but I'm not here for that. He told her, causing her to raise a brow in confusion. What do you mean? I came here as soon as the clan meeting ends. You see, Zekrom is planning to. And so he informed her of everything that was discussed in the meeting. The woman frowned. He should have remained in the hiding. He made himself known due to me, and now my own clan is after him. She commented sadly. I give you my word that no one from the clan will take action against him, except Zekrom. He still held more influence than me. Zack frowned. He still needs more time to stand on equal ground with the first Biel, but it's not the clan I am worried about, it's Zekrom. He's planning something regarding Uzumaki-san, and I think I have a vague idea as to what it is. He finished. Zack, Venelana said in annoyance, you know I don't like riddles. If you know what it is, then please tell. She demanded. Zack sighed. I am not sure, but I think it has something to do with the invention Ajuka-san is working on. He replied. The evil pieces? Venelana thought with a scowl. Only some elders, Sirzex and his group, know about them. She was only given the information because Sirzex trusted her with it. Ajuka Astaroth was not only one of the 4 super devils, but also a genius of the highest degree. Their faction lost half of the 72 pillars and thousands of simple devils in the Great War, placing their entire species on brink of extinction. In fact, that was the reason Sirzex started this civil war, as they, as a race, could not afford to fight another war, but in the long run, even if they win this useless civil war, it won't be enough. As devils, they had very low pregnancy rates. It would take centuries for them to prosper once again. So in hope to solve this problem, Ajuka began to search for a solution and came up with the idea of evil pieces after years of research. The elders and Sirzex were ecstatic when he presented his idea to them. Being able to turn humans and other supernatural beings into devils would give them a huge boost, both in numbers and strength, as they could use the pieces to turn even a sacred gear user into a devil. Still, the pieces are in experimental stages and only Ajuka has them in his possession yet. He needs to leave. I have to warn him. She mumbled loudly. There is no need for that, as he has already left, Layla said while walking inside the room and informed them of everything that had transpired in the meeting. Venelana frowned. He left once again without a word. She felt a little sad, but could she blame him for it? No, she reasoned, he had to leave with all the trouble on its way. Still, it would have been nice if he stopped by and… Yeah, you see, I have to do that. All 3 of them turned towards the open window and found Naruto sitting there. Naruto, you haven't left? Venelana asked. Well, I have, in a way. Boss wanted to say his goodbyes. Boss? She questioned in confusion. You are a clone, aren't you? Zack said, remembering his short fight with the blonde. Got it in one. Biel-chan, the clone said, making the man scowled. Anyways, the boss wanted to come here, but he needs to find a place somewhere, so he sends me to say goodbye in his place. It said, and turned towards Layla. He was also sorry for the stunt he pulled back in the meeting. It was not done intentionally, Layla. The last thing he wants is making people fear us again and be hated for the power we hold. Bye. Without hearing their response, it vanished in a poof of smoke. Feared, hated, again? Both women thought at the same time, staring at the place where the clone stood just a moment ago. With Naruto, the Jinchuriki was walking beside his companion when he suddenly stopped and cursed his clone for being an idiot. His clones and their big mouth. It just had to say those lines to them. He only told it to apologize for scaring Layla earlier when he let loose a little of Kurama's chakra and say goodbye to them. Where are we going? Clark's voice brought him out of his thoughts. Actually I have yet to decide that. He replied with a nervous grin. The devil's sweat dropped at this. Really? It means they have been walking aimlessly in this forest for the past 40 minutes. Unbelievable. Sigh. Do you have a place in mind? He asked. You can take us to the human world? Clark nodded his head. Yes, but not with my magic sealed. Just as he said this, he found his magic freely flowing in his body again, no longer restricted. What did he? He trailed off his line of thoughts, seeing the broken sealing bands in Naruto's hands that were glowing with a red hue. Where do you want to go there? Japan sounds like a good place. He recalled Tiamat once talking about that place. I'm sure it's called Japan, Uzumaki. Is that what it is called? My bad, you see I was never. Clark chose to ignore the strange blonde. How can someone be so much serious one second and act like a complete goof the very next? He shook his head and summoned a magic circle. Hopefully, he will find something to occupy his time in the human world. He doubts that he could keep his sanity intact in the boy's presence. 1 month later, lightning style. Roaring thunder. Naruto yelled and shot several bolts of lightning towards the large boulders in front of him, blowing them to pieces in an instant. The blonde grinned, seeing the result of his jutsu before he began another long set of hand seals, stopping at the ox. Lightning style. Lightning cannon. This time he fired a concentrated beam of electricity from his mouth towards the sky. Your attack is slow. You need to fire it faster, Clark stated while leaning against a nearby tree. Naruto nodded his head. Clark has been giving him tips and ideas to better control the lighting element. He even showed him some of his attacks to give him ideas to base his new attacks on. I wonder what the others are doing. He muttered, maybe Super Gramps had some contingency plan in place. But what if he didn't? He was still going nowhere with the seals. Knowing old man, I can't be sure, Kurama added. What do you plan to do now? I'm going to travel around and continue to find a way back home. Naruto said. Alright, I'm going to take a short nap. Don't wake me up until the situation calls for it. You lazy fox, is this the only thing you think about? If you are done, shall we continue? I still don't know why you insist on taking the long way when we can just fly there. The gray-haired man said. And that's why you are so stiff, my friend. You need to appreciate small things in life and let the youth guide you along the way. The blonde pumped his fist in the air dramatically. He took silent pleasure in seeing a tick mark appear on the stoic man's head. He knew that Lee's and bushy-brow sensei's speech of youth would never fail him. I'll hurt you if you preach about this, youth, again. Clark responded to his earlier comment and walked away. Huh? Don't joke about something like that, you hear me? Tell me where is Underworld. The princess of Bael clan smiled slightly as she felt the morning breeze grace her face ever so gently and gazed at the ever-purple sky of the underworld, which the sun just begins to illuminate. Many birds could be seen occupying the skies already in search of food, while some were still chirping in the trees. She always liked to take a walk in the morning as it calms her nerves and gives her a sense of peace. Her thoughts drifted to a certain blonde as she wondered what he's up to. Thankfully, the tracking units sent behind the duo failed to find any clues about their whereabouts. The council was furious, but seeing they couldn't waste unnecessary manpower in the war, they called the search off for now, much to Zekrum's ire. He wants reparation from Naruto for what happened in the meeting. I hope Sirzex is back soon. At least with him around, Grafia could finally be given her freedom back. She thought in her mind. The council was keen on interrogating the silver-haired servant of Lucifer, well, former servant now, for her secrets. If not for Zack and some other prominent figures in the Devil Society, they would have succeeded in that, but they managed to stall them for the time being, pointing to the fact that she came here of her own free will and had even helped Sirzex before by providing important information. In the end, they get the council to release her from the prison and assign someone to watch over her till Sirzek's return. She will be released today and sent to the Phoenix household, where Layla will take charge as her watcher for the time being. You are joining the troops again soon? A familiar voice said. She nodded her head. Yes, probably next week. Why do you ask Zach-chan? She asked her brother. Said man scowled at the nickname and walked out from the shadows. Don't call me that. He gave her a small half-hearted glare. I think you should not accept any dangerous missions like the last one. Who knows what that evil man is planning? He said, referring to Zane. There is no guarantee that he won't target me even if I take missions with lower risk. She pointed out. I have thought a lot about it, and while I'm still reluctant to send you back to fight on the front lines, I have found a way to keep Zane and others away from you. He said, walking up to her. And how are you gonna stop him? You do know about how powerful he is. The male Biel smirked. Yes, but if I play my cards right and somehow get you in Gremory's battalion once he returns, then you will be a lot safer. He explained. Sears's group? But he has yet to return. That's why you will not be fighting directly on the front lines. He gave her a serious look. I will list you in the support group till then. He told her and turned to leave. The female sighed, knowing full well he will not agree on anything less than this. She wanted to protest but chose not to as he was just looking out for her. Goodbye, Zach-chan. Make sure that you keep the council away from Graphia-san, she shouted, getting a scoff from him before he teleported away. 3 days later, the duo of shinobi and human could be seen sitting near a campfire waiting for the rabbits Naruto had his clones capture to be cooked properly. At the moment they were camping inside the forest located on the northwestern flank of the highest mountain of Japan, Mount Fuji. Now that the devils had given up chasing after them, they could enjoy some peaceful time like this. Watching their back all the time and covering the tracks was really tiresome. I think they are ready now. The blonde mumbled. Let mine cook some more, Clark told him. You can eat your share. He added. Naruto nodded his head and began to eat his share. He wasn't going to wait for the man as he was starving. For the past few days, he had been traveling from village to village, seeing the Japanese culture. It really reminded him of elemental nations. The language here was also another thing that he could relate to his world. Some of the kanji actually were similar to a few his people use. Besides that, the deities of the Shinto faction have names similar to the powers that the Mangekyo Sharingan granted its wielders. He wondered if it's actually a coincidence or is there actually something more there. He shook his head to clear his mind and returned to his meal when he saw one of the bushes nearby shook for a moment. Swoosh! There was a flash of light and his kunai, that he had thrown, was deflected. Clark was already on his feet and ready to attack when they heard a nonchalant voice from the bush. Well, now that is not polite. It said, and Naruto imagined the man behind the bush was pouting? Show yourself, Clark demanded. Alright, geez, the youngster these days are so impatient. The voice said again before the man jumped out of his hiding spot, shocking the duo. But both were shocked for different reasons. Naruto was shocked to see the man once again. He hadn't thought that he would be seeing him anytime soon, or ever again. The devil was shocked because there, in front of him, was standing one of the two kinds that his people hated most and consider their bitter enemies. A fallen angel. And not just any but the leaders of those crows, Azazel himself. Thinking that he was there to eliminate them or him, seeing that there was no actual reason for him to hurt Uzumaki, he quickly summoned a magic circle and shot a beam of energy towards him. Clark don't. The Jinchuriki was late. Azazel muttered, seeing the beam coming towards him, as I said, so impatient. He said and summoned a barrier to protect himself. At ease, Clark Berthold. Azazel raised his hands in surrender before he could attack him again, conveying that he meant no harm. I'm just here to talk. He finished. Clark eyed the man suspiciously but backed down after getting a nod from his companion. Naruto turned his attention back to the fallen angel. Azazel-san, what are you doing here? The black-haired man with blonde bangs grinned. Come on, I just came to say hello, he said with the grin in place. Just tell us the real reason. Clark once again demanded. Sigh. Alright, I am here with an offer for the blondie here. Said person raised a curious brow at his statement. An offer? He asked. Azazel nodded. Yes, I have recently got the news that you are not aligned with any faction yet. So how about you join me? I'll give you whatever you want and you will also get protection from the devils this way. He looked at the blonde expectantly. To be honest, he had thought that the boy already belonged to some other faction when he first met him. If he had known that was not the case, then he would have offered him a place then and there. I am sorry, but I had to decline. I cannot afford to push myself in your three-way war. I just want to live peacefully. he replied, and find a way back. He added in his mind, it's okay, I already had a hunch that you will not be accepting my offer. Still, if you ever change your mind I would love to have someone like you in my ranks. He said, getting a nod from him. Well, just to warn you. Soon some of the power-hungry beings will try to hunt you down. Be careful and try to stay out of light. He warned. Don't worry Azazel-san and thank you for the warning. He laughed heartedly, I'll meet you again some other time Blondie. Goodbye till then, he said as jet black wings, as dark as the darkest night, burst out of his back. Say hi to Teresa for me. Azazel nodded his head and took off to the skies. Clark waited until the man disappeared in the darkness of the night before saying, I didn't know that you and Azazel-san are acquaintances. His voice held a hint of accusation in it. Naruto rolled his eyes exasperatedly at this. Relax. This is actually the second time I have met that guy. The first time we only shared a few sentences before we parted ways. He told the gray-haired man. The man looked at him for a moment before nodding his head as both returned to their meals. You fought in the Great War, correct? Clark raised a brow but nodded his head in response. Yes, it was a long war and it cost me my family, my clan. He said with regret in his voice. How did that happen if you don't mind me telling? The blonde asked. The gray-haired devil looked down and was silent for a minute before replying. My clan was one of the 72 pillars and famous for powerful body and unparalleled mastery over the lightning in the Devil Society. He started, I was born with the gift to use red lightning and Lord Bael took me as his apprentice due to that reason alone. Red lightning is more potent and powerful than the normal one. We were what you could call assassin. Due to our element and speed, we were the most suited group for that type of tasks. He trailed off remembering the past, well, that is beside the point. My clan was attacked and eradicated by the fallen angels in one night. It was a complete massacre, no one survived it, not even children. He clenched his fists in anger. I am sorry for your loss, Naruto said with his eyes closed. I am over it for a long time. It happened more than 300 years ago. He replied with a hollow chuckle. Cycle of hatred, he muttered with a shake of his head. This world is just like his, just more violent and filled with hatred. Even the Mother Nature here is corrupted by the deeds of its inhabitants. Unknown place. A purple-haired man in his early 20s could be seen sitting alone in a dimly lit room. In his hand was an empty bottle of alcohol which he slammed on the table angrily. How dare she? He gritted his teeth in anger. I will not forget this insult. They are just going to give her a clean chit after everything? How could they do this to me, my house? He kicked the table in front of him away. I will not forgive her. And you shouldn't, young Balfour. The man turned to find Zane standing there. Zane Bael? He stuttered and quickly got up to run away but stopped dead in his tracks when the man placed a hand on his shoulder. Sit, Zane commanded and he quietly obeyed. I am not going to kill or harm you, Balfour. I just wanted to talk. The man nodded his head, still afraid of him. You know, the red-eyed devil started, your brother served under me when the Great War was still going on. He was an honorable man. Ik no Bael-sama. He always talked so highly of you. Oh, he did? I didn't know. Unfortunately, he died. I would have liked someone like him in my ranks. Zane said and smiled inwardly, sensing his aura flaring. It's all because of that bitch. I would have avenged my brother if not for those shitty people protecting her. Balfour said with his aura flaring even more. Zane nodded his head, pleased that his plan was progressing nicely. Tell me something, Glamour Balfour. How do you see this ongoing civil war? The elder devil questioned the younger one. It is stupid and foolish. Searsex Gremory and his group are preaching about peace while killing their fellow devils. Who's to say that fallen angels and angels will not attack us again? They are just gathering their strength and waiting for a chance to erase us all. His response made the devil smile. Just a little more push. My point exactly. I and my comrades just wanted our people to be ready just in case, but they started a little rebellion, branding us as bloodthirsty and warmonger. You can see where this is going, right? There was no way for the elders to control me and Rizavum Lucifer, so they supported Searsex so that they could control the new Satans. They did not even honor your brother, and soon his killer will be walking among you. His eyes glowed red for a second. In the end, it's just a way for them to get more power. You are right, Bael-sama. But what can I do? Glamour replied. Join me and we will crush this rebellion together. I will even help you in getting your revenge. So what is your answer? Fear not, I will not harm you no matter what side you choose. Zane assured the man calmly. The purple-haired man thought about it for a moment before giving his answer. I am with you, Bael-sama. Just tell me, how can I help you? The black-haired man smiled. Youngster these days, so easy to manipulate. Excellent. You will act as a spy for me and the rebellion. I will contact you soon to tell you about your first assignment. He told the Balfour and vanished into thin air. That's all for now. If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments.